Hey, everybody, welcome to Movies Worth Talking About, where we talk and talk and talk about movies. I'm John Carlos, and today I am joined by. That's Eddie, everybody.
Yeah.
And we're here to continue our year-long discussion of Kevin Smith films.
Has it been a year?
Well, it hasn't been a year since we started, but we are doing it this year, the year of our Lord 2024. Which is the 30th anniversary of when Clerks came out and Jay and Silent Bob came out, which is why we started this whole thing. Eddie clearly does not remember, but that's what we're doing this year.
Is it going to take all year?
Probably.
Okay, we'll see.
I mean, we still have Cop Out and Tusk and Yoga Hosers and Jay and Silent Bob reboot and Clerks 3. So, yeah. Yeah, Red State. Did I say Red State? I don't know. Anyway.
Ooh. Okay.
Yeah.
Fun.
Fuck yeah. Ooh. I fucking
just go.
I got excited about you're excited. It came out more aggressive than I meant. I fucking love Red State. But yes, this year, 30th anniversary of Clerks, all the Kevin Smith movies this year.
Okay.
and we're doing Zack and Miri Make a Porno today.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorites in the pantheon of so-and-so and so-and-so do a thing as a title.
I was going to say, it sounded like you were going to say one of your favorites in the pantheon of Kevin Smith films. And I was like, really? This is news to me. But
I mean, I like it.
I like it too. But
no. It's just, like... there is the much more common thing is Bill and Ted's or Romy and Michelle's High School Reunion, Cheech and Chong.
But it's not Zack and Miri's Porno. It's Zack and Miri do the thing.
Yeah, it's a whole sentence. It's Harold and Kumar go to White Castle. It's Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein.
Viola Davis, the Woman King. I'm sorry, I just do the thing.
But just Barb and Star go to Vista Del Mar. Like
yeah. Which I still haven't seen.
Oh, dude, you'll like it. I think.
Like one of these days.
Yeah, I think you'll have a good time.
Cool.
But anyway, not enough movies are Bob and Frank go suck a fuck or whatever. Like we need, which might be
Frog and Toad fly a kite. Like I remember, you remember the Frog and Toad books when you were a kid? Did you ever read those?
No.
Oh,
if God. I did, I don't remember.
I would say I'm old, but I'm only a year older than you, so you were just deprived.
Yeah. I don't think I owned any. Maybe they're in the dentist's office or some shit. I don't know. But I will say Bob and Frank Suck a Fuck sounds like a movie that Justin Long would have made in this movie.
Oh my God. Can't get enough of him in this
And hopefully
movie.
Randall is like ordering it for RST,
Yeah.
I like to think that some of the movies that Justin Long has been in this movie are movies that RST video would carry.
I hope so. Oh my God.
Or even at the video store in Jersey Girl, the little beaded curtain and Liv Tyler, Is
that still standing though? Is that canon? Do we know that it's still standing? I mean, would it still be around?
No, not really? Now in this year, Eddie, the year that we are talking Kevin Smith movies. In 2024, I don't think it's standing, but probably back in 2007 when this came out, yeah.
Okay.
There was still a small handful of brick and mortar video stores just a few years ago.
This is true. True. I would rent every single one of them.
I forget what was it? Like Glenn Ross? More like Glenn and Gary drop his hairy nutsack into Ross's.
Who can possibly? I couldn't. It's so obviously improvised in the greatest way. I'm a fan of the Linorama special features on the Judd Apatow DVDs and everything, but I love the fact that Kevin Smith probably wrote something and then Justin Long just took it and ran with it, and I'm just like, brava, or whatever. He wouldn't care.
Doesn't matter.
Brandon Saint, Randy wouldn't care.
There is and much was said at the time because I have this weird encyclopedic knowledge, whatever, of Kevin Smith bullshit that does not matter. But I know that the stereotype, I think leading up to Dogma or maybe Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, was no improv. Say what I fucking wrote,
Well, because we've seen the examples of when people requested improv.
But Chris Rock around that time started dropping some really good improvs, and he's like, okay,
Mhm.
sometimes. And obviously, when you're dealing with like Elizabeth Banks and Seth Rogen and Justin Long, like they know what the fuck they're doing, and they
Yes,
also
they
know
do.
how to contribute, like the good version of improv, where it like fits within the scene, it contributes to the scene, it moves the thing forward and feels organic, and isn't just like an actor taking the one sentence and making it 4 sentences. You know,
No. Or modifying lines, like basically just paraphrasing lines that have already been written. And there's examples of
yeah.
this in the special features of some
Oh
of the
yeah.
earlier Kevin Smith movies. We won't name
We don't
names.
need to go there, but if
People
you know,
know.
you
People
know.
know. But or even like in the case of like he doesn't do all that much, but I find that his reactions and his awkwardness, Brandon Routh in this film. I love the foundation he lays upon which Justin Long can just
Yeah, and he plays a really good like I am mildly embarrassed and uncomfortable and bashful and
I'm the ironically named straight man.
exactly
Yeah,
perfectly named. Yeah, yeah, no.
yeah, right.
Um, yeah. Speaking of like the porno titles, because I saw this movie, we can get into this in a bit, but like I saw this in a theater several times, and
Mm.
every single time Justin Long drops the name of "You better shut your mouth or I'm gonna fuck it," just killed. Even when you know it's coming and you're watching it at home by yourself, it fucking
Yeah,
kills.
totally. There were more than a handful of those where I was just kind of like, I gotta write that down. That was fun.
You better
But
shut your mouth or I'm gonna fuck it.
better shut your mouth or I'm gonna fuck it. Or even just, I loved Seth as Zach standing there just going like, they fight just like real people.
Yeah.
And then later,
I will be your Sherpa up the mountain of gayness. This is the
I,
best
I
thing.
I was just going there. Although I do have to say it was preceded by what I think is kind of like the epitomal line in terms of like being a Sherpa of gayness. In an episode of Will and Grace, Will was thanking Jack for after he came out for being his Sherpa through the Himalayas of Himalayan. And I always thought that was pretty genius. Yeah.
That's good. That's
Right?
good. That is
So when I
great.
heard this one, I was just kind of like, okay, not quite, what I heard before, but I see you, Justin Long.
Still
Thank
good.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
still good. Like I'm still going, you know what? The spirit's there. And
I mean,
that's the most important thing.
I don't want to spend all my time like just quoting the movie, but I gotta say that like but Seth like even earlier, he plays I love it when there's the overtly funny one, but also the straight boring one also gets to be funny. And
Yeah.
ever seen any movies you're in? And like, what kind of movies? Movies with all male cast. Oh, movies with all male casts. Like it's just so casual the way he goes. What, like Glenn Gary, Glenn Ross?
Right. And then the tentativeness of just like more like, but like he's testing the
Yeah.
waters, like how me can I be around you? And the
And
answer is abundantly.
I like the mannered response of like, pardon me if this sounds like I'm going over the line
Yeah.
or something, but are you?
Someone who did not give a shit when he was entering, who
I
literally
eat the
like
pussy.
I know with Schwalbach and then did the thing and the thing. And I'm
Yeah.
just kind of like, okay, I don't know how this would go over now, but probably didn't go over all that great then either. But but I like the social ineptitude that it is suggesting about him, and then later that it's suggested about Miri as well. And she's standing there with I don't want to keep calling them because I feel like I'll keep calling him Brandon, and you won't know if I'm talking about Brandon Routh or Brandon St. Randy. Like, I love that they have like little bits of each other's names though, like Justin Long and then Bobby Long
Oh
and
yeah.
Brandon Routh and Brandon Saint. You
Oh
didn't you
yeah,
didn't
it's
notice that?
adorable. No,
Yeah, they have like a little dips in each
that's
other's like names.
cute.
But while she's standing there, the way Mary goes is, "Don't thank me, just fuck me." I'm like, "Oh God." I mean, there's a way to be forward and get what you want, but girl, rein it in. You're not even drunk yet. Come
Nerves.
on.
I mean, dude, I am straight and my nerves would be shot standing next to Brandon Routh. Are you fucking kidding me? God
For the
damn, what a handsome bastard.
for the first time ever, I will not argue with you there. But for the first time ever, when I was watching this movie, I saw the two of them standing across from each other. I mean, Miri and Bobby Long. And all I could think was, are Elizabeth Banks and Brandon Routh wearing wigs? Because I could have sworn, if you told me they absolutely were, I'd believe you. But I don't even know if you know that.
I'm pretty sure that's his real hair.
It's so
I don't know about her.
silky.
Yeah. He's
And
a
just
famous handsome man. What the
but just
fuck?
like but also kind of wavy. Like I thought his hair would just kind of like lay flat. Maybe they permed it. I was just trying to think like they looked like they're wearing wigs. I
He's
couldn't tell.
definitely had periods. Like I think um not like yeah, like I saw photos of his wedding when and
Yeah.
like he had like long-ish hair. Like there was a period in his life where like this is
Okay.
my hair length.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Didn't know real hair could do that. It just kind of frames his face and is floppy, but still somehow stylish.
I mean, they do have
And
hairstylists on set, but
yeah, but even when he's moving around, it's moving with him, and it always looks good. So I have a feeling there's tons of footage on the cutting room floor that's just. And then Elizabeth Banks just looked like a really, really severe
yeah.
hairline. I couldn't tell if it was her. But then later she's got like exactly the same kind of hair when it's in braids, when she's got her princess,
Mhm.
what's her name? Not Leia,
Lay
but because
lay her.
lay her. Thank you. I
Yeah.
knew you would know the names. Okay, okay. Can we talk about this?
Of course, that's what we're here for.
I have, I think, like two kind of like they're not deal breakers. They don't make me go like, and that's why this movie sucked. But they're like things that I'm just kind of like, ah. And one of
Oh.
them is Star Wars was ingenious. And I remember the first time I saw this movie, because I did see it in theaters as well. And I remember I was sitting there and I saw the little montage when they were all trying on their costumes and having
Yeah.
fun, and they had the cute little names. And I was like, oh my God, this is so epitomal, like Kevin Smith. This is perfect. And it really bummed me out, like beyond like I think the movie's intention. When the warehouse was just
Oh
getting,
yeah.
demolished, I was just kind of like, no. And even when they got the idea, the first time I saw the movie, when they got the idea to do like a coffee house thing, I was like, no. I was like, no, now you have to get really inventive and come up with even crappier costumes for your Star Wars thing. Like, come on, get creative. Use trash. I really, I wanted, R2D2, whatever his name is, uh, instead of R2D2. I wanted him
Yeah,
to
I don't
just be a
remember.
literal trash can. And I remember C3PO as ICUP. That was great.
Yeah.
But see, that's what I mean. And also there would have been a great way for Princess Leia, to like want a scene with like a Jabba. If somebody had a Jabba and they were like, had her on a chain, how it writes itself. Come on.
I mean, okay, I don't 100% agree with you, but I remember the first time I
Ugh,
saw it,
yeah.
I didn't, I don't want to say I felt like the rug pull, but I was like, oh no, what the fuck? Like, I was with you. I'm like, Kevin Smith, Star Wars jokes, his whole career.
Yeah.
This makes so much sense. Also, just
Yeah.
as a Kevin Smith fan and as a Star Wars fan, I'm like, oh, I'm loving this. This is perfect. Like, this is what I want this movie to be. And then when it didn't really go there, I was like, oh. However,
Yes.
I don't have it as a note against the movie. Even yours is it's not a huge knock against the movie
No, no.
because I very quickly when it became about swallow my cockachino, I'm like, oh, they're making a movie inside his place of work. That's cute. It's like Clerks, and I was just totally okay with it. Yeah, I'm like, it's a
Okay.
sweet callback.
I mean, they never made a porn in Clerks, but okay. But
But a bunch of nobodies got together with a camera and they came together to make something inside of it.
to
It's
create
sweet.
magic, to do,
Yeah.
yeah, to do the thing. To do the
Also,
thing.
if
Yes.
if they had
Yeah.
just made it Star Wars, I would have been robbed of, in my opinion, it's a little hyperbolic, but one of my favorite line deliveries, maybe ever,
Oh,
is when they're kind of doing their shitty little mamba, you know?
yeah. Uh-huh.
Hey, let's fuck on these beans.
Oh, rumba. They're doing what's a
Whatever
rumba?
the fuck. I just
Yeah.
love the
It's
way, hey, let's fuck on these beans. I, even on this viewing, stopped and rewound it just 3 times.
And I have to admit I do love I'm gonna fuck you with my pecker, and she stops because it's offensive. So he says, penis, I'm gonna fuck you with my penis, and I'm like, okay, neither one of those descriptions has ever been sexy. There is no way
Well,
anybody
yeah.
could ever say, yeah, you want my pecker inside you. No, oh God, ew. Or well, there was a bit in a movie once where someone said something about penis and they criticized the other person criticized, like, don't call it a penis. It's like, oh wait, I almost had it. But somebody's just kind of like, no, not my penis. It was a Chris Rock bit. It was a Chris Rock bit. He did like a Crank Yankers or something like that.
Oh,
He was like doing phone sex with his girlfriend, and she was just kind of like, but she was doing it begrudgingly, just kind of like, okay, I'm stroking your shoulders. And he's like, no, not my shoulder. Come on, baby. Come on. Come on. It's just like later, she's just like, okay, fine. I'm sucking on your penis. And he stops and just like, his dick. Don't call it penis. It's a dick.
wow. Nope. Missed that Crank Yankers.
Yeah. It wasn't. I mean, it was just like a phone thing. It was like a bit, like over a phone.
Right.
I think it was animated or something.
But you have to be very careful with what terminology you use, both in porn and in real life. That's there was like a recurring Adam Sandler used to make comedy albums, and there'd be these little recurring skits of the same character.
Yeah.
I think it was like on his third album, maybe. He had this guy who's always like hooking up with the chick.
Okay.
And then right when she's about to, he'd always say, now, play with my tallywhacker. And she's like, you're what? He's like, suck on my tally. And it always ends with the girl leaving because like he's like, yeah, now play with my pud. She's like, I'm sorry, did you call it a what? And it's always him fucking it up by calling his dick the wrong thing. Ew. Just don't even talk about your dick.
I mean,
just,
I mean, a little direction is helpful every now and then. Like, if you want me to do something
probably
to do
the
it.
Default.
Cock and dick are great.
You're not going to ruin the moment by
other euphemisms might just create chaos and confusion.
You're right. Like pecker.
I remember oh God, John Waters had a problem because he had a movie called Pecker, and he ran into an issue with someone who didn't want to play the role of Pecker, I guess, or who thought they were going to be playing the role of Pecker and didn't want to do it because they thought Pecker implied small. And I was like, I don't understand it either. But I would never use. I don't think I've ever used that word to describe my own anatomy.
No.
Yeah.
That's what makes it funny in the scene.
Yeah. I don't know what other euphemisms are there for it.
Schlong.
Schlong. I never call it a schlong.
Dong.
Hey, my schlong, my dong.
Dingaling.
No, only when I'm singing my dingaling. Which is often.
Yeah.
Anyway,
every time we end an episode, you said, yeah. Again. It's not. Yeah, it's always right after we end. And then
I like it. Andy Samberg calls it his doink. I like that.
Oh yeah. Dangus.
Dangus is
probably one of my favorites. Is Dangus on the Rangus? Yeah.
It sounds like it's growing mold. I don't like it. Anyway, actually, it made me laugh. Yes, you were gonna say.
No. I was just gonna say it's actually more fun to call people a Dangus than.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, Dangus.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, let's go back in time to when the movie came out. This is one of the more interesting times where my friend used to work for the Weinstein Company, and she doesn't have an story, but good. I was very fortunate in that, and this is sort of probably a way. Now that I think about it, if this is a waste of resources towards Harvey Weinstein, then good. But she there's press screenings, and she'd always be like, hey, just let me know whichever dates you want to go to, and I'll put you on the list.
Sweet.
So I think I saw this about 3, maybe 4 times before it came out in theaters.
Oh my God.
And the cool thing was she was like, yeah, you can, just bring your friends. We're just looking to fill up the thing. So I like each time I'd bring like maybe 2 or 3 friends, and we would go to the fancy little with the leather thing, and just have the, and usually with a bunch of stuffy people who don't want to laugh, and then we're laughing.
Good.
That's
great. Fun.
But but as always, because I did that with Clerks too, I always insist you got to go pay to see it in a theater. You can't just go see it for free and take money out of Kevin Smith's pocket. So I did pay to see it, but
good for you.
Yeah. But there was a because I remember there's just like, I don't know, there's always a charge about when you get to see something early and for free, and whether that really affects how you react to it. But I remember one time I saw it with a buddy of mine, and no joke, we went to Golden Apple Comics like right after, and the people at Golden Apple Comics were like, hey, he's coming in. So yeah, I think he's gonna be coming in the back, maybe. And I'm like, oh, they're talking about. And then fucking like 5 minutes later, Seth Rogen showed up.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure I had to guess, because I know his casting was announced for the Green Hornet. and I'm pretty sure he was there to read Dynamite's Green Hornet run or to pick it up. But
yeah,
I got to be like, hey, we just saw Zack and Miri like fucking like an hour ago. It was really good. And he was like, oh thanks, man. Very subdued. I didn't get one or anything. Just very like, oh, hey.
No, he seems like a pretty shy guy.
He was.
Yeah.
He was very. You could tell, not in a bad way, but like that. Like, I am a recognizable guy right now, and I am in this store, and I already like do not want to be like swamped. I just want to buy my comics and be cool guy.
Yeah, 100%. That's sweet.
Yeah. But good times with that movie. I remember the marketing for it was so stupid. Do you remember how like they had a poster? The poster was split down the middle, and on one side was Zack, and the other side was Miri. And Zack was like, "Ooh," and Miri was like, "Ah." And if you look at Zack, the bottom of the poster is the back of the top of Miri's head, like at his crotch. And at the bottom of Miri's head, you could see the back of like Seth Rogen's little like Jufro. And it was like the idea was like, Zack and Miri Make a porno, and they're each getting head like in the poster. And
I do
like,
not remember that at all
because it was not released in the US. And that became the joke when the theatrical poster was just like all white with like two stick figures and a camera. Because they're like, how many times can our poster get rejected? Fuck it. Here you go.
Oh my God,
that poster was used in Canada. Actually, I think it was used in the US, but they cut the heads out of the bottom. So now it's just Seth Rogen and fucking Elizabeth Banks making faces for nothing.
Right. You're making me remember when the DVD got released. I remember I was working at Borders at the time.
There's a story behind that too.
I remember Borders was the only store that carried Make a Porno.
There was more than one.
Oh, there was more than one. Okay, we were one of the only stores where you could get the Make a Porno slip cover and regular cover. It didn't just say Zack and Miri on it. Yep. And I bought one at the time of the DVDs. I don't have it anymore. But I remember I showed my sister the cover, like expressing this to her, like, look, we got the Make a Porno on it. She was like, I don't like that cover. And I was like, why? She said, that's not Miri. And I was like, what do you mean? And she's just like, just look at her expression, because she looked all kind of, huh? And she was just like, that's not Miri. They made her look kind of dumb. Like they're trying to make her look, sexier by making her look dumber. And and it really bothered her. So I was like, all right. I lost faith in my cover art a long time before then. So.
That's true. I mean, they're trying to sell you on the idea of like porno stuff. So like Jamie Hughes is a plumber. Doesn't happen. Randall is as Jeff Anderson. He's like a delivery. He's a pizza delivery guy.
No, never.
He's the camera guy.
Not in the movie I saw. No.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, there's all sorts of. I mean, selling the movie is always such a whole different beast. I mean, I remember Clerks 2. They did the basically. They showed this even in the documentary for this. Like they do a photo session of each character on a white backdrop, and they composite it all later. They did the same thing for Clerks 2. There's a composite of like Jane and Bob, Rosario and Brian and Jeff for your main Clerks 2 poster. But they also made just like a poster of Jane and Bob. They made a poster of Elias Dante Randall. Then they did one of Jess Rosario Dawson.
Yeah.
And Rosario Dawson is always like, she's in leather pants. She doesn't wear leather pants in the movie. They're always like, she's always making like little foxy smiling faces.
Yeah.
They're being directed to because they want to sell the idea of, ooh, Rosario Dawson. She's foxy. Look at her sexy little smiley faces and stuff.
Make it look like a Maxim cover. Yeah.
It's not the movie. That's one of the things I loved. Did you follow when Pitch Perfect 2 came out? How like, if you look at when we're done here, look at the poster for Pitch Perfect 2. All the girls are just like, to the side and being either like kind of sultry or sassy, And then I can't remember her name, but the main girl.
Anna Kendrick?
Anna Kendrick, I think, is either standing straight forward or she has her arms crossed. And her whole thing was during like the photo shoot for that, she's like, I don't want to like sell sexy for this. Like my character isn't that. I'm just gonna stand here and look forward with my arms crossed. And it's fucking great. And there was actually, and then when that came out, all across social media, there was like lots of girls who were posing with it in the theater, and they were just posing like this. And I'm like, I fucking love this.
That's really cool. And also good for her, because she also understands her appeal. Like hundreds of people think that she's sexy. tons. I meant to
Yeah.
say tons of people
Yeah.
think that she is delectable and sexy because she's not, Maxim cover. And
Yeah.
the Maxim cover is fine, like nothing against them. They're selling a particular image too. And if the women are finding power in that stance or that exposure, cool, awesome for them. But if you're not, you have the right to stand there and just face forward and cross your arms. And I love that she did that. That's one of the nicer things I've heard about her in recent years. But
Oh,
oh, she's gone viral for some. Anyway, we won't talk
not
about that.
yeah, not here for that right now for Zack and
Yeah.
Miri. And also I've never been exposed to that in my like socials and feeds and all that. But
Okay.
uh up front, one of the things that I liked about this just from the very beginning. Wait,
Yeah.
fuck all that. You had two things, right?
Mhm.
That you hold against this movie.
Well, when you put it that way.
Yeah.
No, two things that just kind of like, in my craw. I'm just kind of like,
Yeah,
oh.
Star Whores and
Yeah. The other thing is much more kind of like overarching, or arching. I don't know which one. But it really hit me in a way that it never hit me when I watched the movie before, because I always just kind of took it, for what it is and was like, oh, lovely. I realized when they got to the point where they had started shooting the movie, with the coffee and everything, and then all of a sudden their power comes back on, the water's working, they open their front door, and there's their cast and crew who paid their DWP bill for a month. And they walk in and they're just kind of like, yeah, we're all really tired of you using our bathrooms. So, and it's affectionate and it's sweet. And I like that. But the second that was expressed, I was like, same thing with it hit me the same way the Star Wars thing did, where I was just kind of like, oh, but I missed that. I would have loved to have seen a little bit more of something, or a lot more, actually. All of a sudden I realized I haven't seen a lot of like real bonding between this group. I mean, I like them, and what I've seen I like, but I would have liked to have seen them using their bathrooms in like a little montage-y kind of thing, like the day in day out kind of like practice of filmmaking, and like how you have to kind of like wake up someone who's oversleeping, or just, I mean, little things, there's little more things that would have invited me in a little bit more to the family dynamic of their crew. Because this is the thing, it's not like I didn't feel it, but I could have used a little bit more, because by the time they started doing the dancing, I was like, see, now I'm getting a montage of them all pretty much dancing alone. Every now and then there's two or three, or every now and then they're all dancing together, but then we just keep cutting to like one by one. And I know what we're doing, because I got the vibe when Granny Panties filled the screen and snapped out, because I think Miri was holding them. And I was like, oh, 16 Candles. This is like a John Hughes movie about, regular people making a porno, but it's got that John Hughes kind of sweetness, to it, or perceived sweetness. And then I saw them all dancing solo, and I was like, oh, Breakfast Club. Like when they're all in detention, they're all doing the dancing. You never got that?
No.
Okay.
I'm
So
dumb.
and the thought, like, okay, but now you've created a parallel for me, Kevin Smith, where like by the time we got to that point in the movie of Breakfast Club, I had spent so much time watching these people interact with each other. I know that that's largely the function of the film, but by the time we got to that moment in Zack and Miri, I still don't know a whole hell of a lot about these people. I'm charmed by them. I loved getting introduced to them. And when you give them funny lines, they land for me. I think I was just wishing that the heart of the family had felt as fully developed as I feel like the heart of the relationship between Zack and Miri had been developed. I wish there'd been kind of like equal energy, or if it had felt more like there was equal energy. Does that make sense?
It does, actually.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, I mean, again, I like the cast, but you're right, there isn't as much time showing them bond as much as maybe, because one of the things I do like is as they're developing Star Wars, and we're constantly cutting to like them coming up with a title or them doing this, we're always changing locations, and we're seeing like how they are making ends meet. It's like always them next to a trash can inside their apartment, or them washing her hair at the sink at work, and it's doing laundry. So I like that we're definitely don't ignore Zack and Miri.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing missing there. But yeah, part of me wonders, I'm glad you mentioned that because again, I remember the dumbest shit. In the documentary on this, like the feature length documentary that's like on the Blu-ray and all that, they cover Kevin Smith spending a few days doing rehearsals with the cast. And I guess this has happened before in another, like he brings it up and Scott Mosier's like, he's done this before though, so it's usually fine. But like Kevin kind of pulled him aside. He's like, I don't know if we're ready. Like, part of me feels like it's not, I feel bad. Like we're coming up on a date, but I don't think we're not fucking there yet. And I think he's wrong because I think the movie's very funny, but I don't want to say wrong, but just maybe over, but I can't help but wonder if he also felt like, part of me just wonders what if he realized what you were saying, where he's like, oh yeah, they show up at the apartment, but do we have enough with the other people? Do we have enough with them to show this family bonding? So like, yeah, I couldn't help but wonder. Yeah, like I see what you mean. People pick up on things like that.
Yeah, and it's not about something not working, but it's working great. It could work even better. Like it could be, because that's the thing that it's not missing from this movie. It has heart. I would just wish there could be more room made for it. Like they're a little less quippy, so then I can feel the pangs even more when when it's pang time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but the quips in this are oh so good.
Uh-huh.
Hey, can you ever slap a wrestler? But don't be a fucking pervert,
I mean, and even probably the toiletiest thing of all, no pun intended, is the mess on Jeff Anderson's face with the corn in it, which when am I ever gonna not notice that? But that was another thing, just like even seeing him come in and be all upset and bereft and everything like that, I was just kind of like, I get it. I would be upset too. I don't know you well enough, like I wish I knew more about you. I wish we could set you up as like a control freak or something like, oh no, not him. I don't even know his character's name in the movie, So yeah, just little stuff like that. Because I mean, there's a certain point where I think Mallrats and On, when Kevin's leaning a little bit more into the pretty much straight comedy genre. He takes on, and it's even there with Dogma, I feel too, but he almost takes on like a retelling of the Wizard of Oz using his own Askewniverse characters, like we're going to go on this journey and we're going to acquire people along the way. We're going to meet colorful characters along the way. We're going to move from venue to venue and we're going to come out the other end changed or having achieved the thing we sought out, or something like that. Like it'll all kind of like nice finish at the end of it. Very Wizard of Oz to me. Very kind of like, and that's and the story ends, but the bonds are strong, kind of thing. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I do. Was I giving you a face that I didn't? I don't know. I'm not.
Well, because you're kind of.
Oh, that's just my face.
I'm also like hypersensitive to that. Ever since John Cameron Mitchell was looking at me like,
oh yeah,
oh God, hurt my feelings. But it's not his fault. Not
no,
his fault.
it's actually, but I mean, yes, what you say about the Wizard of Oz type thing is true, but it's the 16 Candles and Breakfast Club thing that I went, yeah, and he was definitely of a generation. The thing that I pulled from other movies was just that it just really hit me that this movie feels like it's all of his previous movies, some element of them are all there, like either a wink or a reference or a hallmark of some kind. And I just started, and I've watched this movie a bunch of times, never caught it until this viewing, but I was like, yeah. So they're filming a movie inside the store, and okay, so it's Clerks,
right?
Got it. And then Mallrats, like it hit me when they have a scene of when he and I think is it either Laney or Delaney, he's trying to get him to invest the money, yeah. And I'm like, oh, you're in a mall. First of all, they're in the fucking Monroeville, like fucking Dawn of the Dead mall, fucking awesome. And an old ass Hot Topic is behind them. And I'm like, oh, the old font. But I'm like, okay, so you're in a mall.
Yeah.
And also, I don't know how much you want to go back, but it's also like a sweet story in the end about like a guy who finally has to figure out like what does he want, you know. Chasing Amy, this movie, you know, features like two gay dudes. I'm like, okay, so there's like some sort of LGBTQ content in this. Also there's like a scene at a hockey rink, and I'm like, are we calling back to everything? Dogma, when they open the door to the cast, and he's like, have you heard the good news about Jesus? I'm like, there's Dogma. And I just sort of like watch the movie going like, here they all are, you know. Even Jersey Girl, like you have scenes in the porno section in the back of your store, like every single thing, you know. Clerks 2 is very kind of sex positive about, you know, alt bestiality, you know, a man and his donkey, and this whole movie is sex positive about an industry. Like there's all these little kind of things that, you know.
Yeah, I never thought of that.
Jay and Silent Bob, they're making a comedy with like blunt sabers, and this is like they're making a comedy with like, it's all with dildos. There is, whether Hamilton or not, there is a check mark that references each of his previous movies in
things that have become hallmarks of like Kevin Smith. Things
but not just the usual hallmarks, like hey, look, people are wearing a hockey jersey, which, you know, this movie starts out and you're like, Mary's in a Penguins jersey, like you instantly know Kevin Smith. She's in a hockey jersey, which, by the way, did you notice that besides, you know, hockey being a thing, and, you know, Mary's in a hockey jersey, do you notice in the opening sequence she turns on the coffee machine? It's like the same coffee machine shot from Clerks. And then Zach gets out of bed and he puts his feet into the shoes, and I'm like,
oh my god,
we're starting this. It's edited like Clerks. Their morning routine.
I did wonder.
They don't milk it, but it's there. And
yeah.
Watch it again with the coffee shot in his shoes. It's the same.
I will. I did wonder, like, while I was watching it, I was like, I love Elizabeth Banks and I love Seth Rogen, and I really, really like the work that they do in this movie. There's also another part of me that's just kind of like, just curious. What would it look like if Justin Long and Brandon Routh were playing Zack and Miri? And I don't mean like Zack and Miri, but I mean like these roles. If it was like two dudes who wanted to make like a porn together, it's completely like, what if, you know, like, I mean, it's completely speculative.
Are they playing the same characters?
I don't know. Maybe a similar dynamic, you know, something that plays to like their strengths around each other, where one is really kind of like much more buttoned up and straight laced, so to speak, and the other one is just much more outspoken and much more like, that'd be great. But I mean, and maybe not even them, but that, you know, I loved them on screen and I wish there could have been more of them. That was another thing. That wasn't so much. I kind of understood. I wasn't it. They weren't even supposed to come back originally. Did he just bring them back because he loved the work that they did, like the presence that they had so much in the opening? Yeah, for the thing at the end. Was that originally planned? Because I feel like I heard that on a commentary or something.
Yeah, I don't remember. I mean, that makes sense to me. And it seems like something that was probably filmed in LA just based on like the setting. Whereas the whole thing was filmed, you know, in
back east,
Pittsburgh.
Yeah. But even people like Tisha Campbell, like when she was on screen, I was just kind of like, girl, where you been? We could have used, again, it wasn't like I was sitting here with the movie just kind of like, I wish something funny would happen. I was enjoying myself. But then I see someone like her come on screen and like fucking nail it. And I'm like, oh yeah, this is all you do. You were here for like just this stretch of time. And maybe she was only available
most of it.
Oh my God. But that's the thing. It's just kind of like salivating. Like, oh my God, could we have had a little bit more of all these people? Like, they're all so good. I just, ooh.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, good stuff.
That's how I feel about Kenny Hotz as the other Zach. Which I mean, are you familiar with him at all?
Okay. What is he in?
I had a feeling, because we've never discussed it. In life, we've never talked about this. One of my favorite shows ever is called Kenny versus Spenny. Canadian show. And
sounds like it.
And if anyone out there is watching, if you know, like, Kenny is a genius. I would love, Eddie, to sit down with you and just watch a couple episodes, because okay, real quick, and then we'll get back to the movie. But the premise of the show is, and in real life, they don't really like live together, but the production rents a house, and while they're filming, they like live in this house, and it's fun. And but anyway, they would do these little weekend competitions from Friday through Sunday. Really dumb competitions, really absurd competitions, like like who can who can gain the most weight,
Mm.
to like who can wear a dead octopus on their head the longest, or who can go without touching the floor the longest,
Okay,
or who do
that's
girls
fun.
like more, and they have to like each try to seduce the same girl.
Oh, that's fun.
So many
Yeah.
different competitions. But the thing about Kenny is he is, and I love him, but he is a disgusting pig of a man. And full disclosure for everyone out there, Eddie and I watched Freddie Got Fingered, and Eddie, I'm going to speak on you in third person, didn't go on the ride of the movie like the way like I do, kind of viewing it as an anti-comedy and how it's like a deconstruction. You went on like the narrative of the movie, and it got under your, like, Tom Green's character got under your fucking skin. And I feel like if you watched Kenny vs. Benny, you would be in a constant state of just like cannot fucking handle these two guys. And Kenny is an like he's nothing like he is. So anyway, he is an absolute pig. And he's a brilliant pig.
Okay.
Even in his current Facebook account now, he's still like constantly trash talks Spenny, and just he's I love him to death. I love him to death. So when I'm watching Zack and Miri for the first time, and fucking Kenny Hotz shows up, I'm like, what the fucking fuck is this?
But someone who's as much of a fan of Canadian programming as Kevin Smith is, of course, is going to be dialed into that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just so ridiculous. First of all, he always looks, at least on the show, like he hasn't showered in like 2 days.
Okay.
With ratty t-shirts, and it's weird to see him in a sweater.
Yeah.
It's weird to see him acting. And it's weird to see him be lame, where he's, that could be only one,
Yeah.
Because that's the kind of guy that Kenny would totally make fun of. Like,
okay.
Anyway,
that's fun.
It goes by, if you don't know, as just like a random person, but to a whole sect of people in Canada, that is like a truly great cameo performance.
Oh, okay.
Truly.
Yeah, I saw him and I was like, seems like this is the kind of role that usually would be played by someone I know.
Right.
I feel like someone knows who this guy is.
Right. And if not, someone from a previous Kevin Smith movie, like Ethan Suplee or Jason Lee doing a cameo. But yeah.
Sure, 100%. But there was one thing, like, from the offset that I was just kind of like, oh, I don't know if it's a back east thing or if it's even a Canadian thing, because I don't know if the Canadian was already starting to kind of like rub off on Kevin around the time he was making this movie. But it's a small thing. But in the beginning, with the bathroom door, when he first walks in on her, and she says, the door was, or you should close the door. The door was closed. And he says, it was closed over. What does that mean? I mean, I know what it means. Obviously, it means ajar. The thing is, I just say ajar. Who says, have you ever said closed over? Is that a phrase that you use?
It's not a phrase, but like I understand like the meaning that it's not closed all the way. It's just, here's the space and it's closed over the space, but it's not closed all the way. You just closed it over.
It wasn't one of those things where it harmoniously just kind of made sense in my head. Like sometimes you hear about something, you're like, oh. I was just kind of like, it felt regional. Anyway, I just wanted to ask
I would
you
love
about
to find out if it is regional. I wonder if,
There was another thing I wanted to ask you if I was missing something. Okay. I think it's a saying. The name of the coffee place where they work.
Oh yeah, Bean and Gone.
Yeah. Been and gone? Is it supposed to be a play on? That's a phrase, right? Been and gone?
I understand that Bean, Bean, is supposed to be a play on Been.
Yeah.
Because we've been somewhere, you go somewhere, gone. But yeah, I've never been like, oh, we've been and gone there. Like it's maybe I have to wonder if if Kevin growing up a decade before me, if there was like, is that something they said on Hee Haw? Like I done been and gone there.
Or even if it's like a Northeaster kind of thing that I just, instead of not standing in line, standing online, and
that's one.
And I've been around. Well, I've been and gone. Like I've been there, but then I got out. I don't even. It
Yeah,
felt
no,
again.
I'm with
I was
you
like,
on
what
both
am
of
I
those.
missing?
Like I understand the play on words, but it was not an expression that I knew.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm just getting clarity from you now about the parts of the movie that made me go, huh? But then I was really happy to see. I don't know the actor's name, but the one who played their boss, who whenever I
Oh
see him,
yeah,
I always think about his role in 40-Year-Old
yeah.
Virgin, and he's talking about like,
About love. It's about
yeah,
connection
sex is not about sucking and fucking and cocks and
and
titty
pussy
and
juice
pussy.
cocktail. It's
Yeah, it's not about the rattlesnake wiggle, not about the alligator fuck house. It's about love. It's so, and he's just as
go
scintillating in
fuck a
this
goat.
one.
Why would somebody fuck a goat, man?
That's right. But I mean, the second I saw him, I think I said out loud, I was like, alligator fuck house. I was so happy to see him because I haven't seen him lately. He used to shop at the Trader Joe's my sister used to work at, and I don't think she ever mentioned it to him because she didn't want to embarrass him. But she said he was really, really nice and really sweet. So
Yeah,
that's good to know.
he's great. Yeah, and that's one of the little things that I appreciate about this movie is that in getting Seth Rogen, we kind of pulled in from the
Right,
Apatow and the Point Grey verse a bit with Craig Robinson and with
right.
Elizabeth Banks.
Oh, Craig Robinson was so good.
So
He's good in. I've never seen him be bad in anything. I just
no.
I just want to wrap my arms around him and just be like, thank you for being you. He had so many lines that I didn't want to write because I was too busy laughing at them.
He also makes some stuff work where that's the thing that's been really it's been interesting to watch these movies this year. And I talked about this a little bit with Chogrin on the Clerks 2 episode. And I think I've actually talked about this with you and a few others. But almost every movie that we've talked about during the Kevin Smith thing, I've always kind of cited a moment where I talk about how like here's where it's a product of this era. And here's the things that maybe even aren't dating it in a bad or offensive way, but just date it as far as references or how we were thinking.
Right.
And one of the things that like maybe I'm just starting to be more aware of is that like when you write so much racial humor and like and we talked about this a little bit like with Scream 2, like it's great that there's two black leads in the beginning of Scream 2, but how much of this is it the right of like a white dude to write for them, you know?
Right.
And there's so much in the first like 10 minutes with like, you know, can I get a coffee black? Yeah, just a minute. White. You know,
I liked
like
that.
line's great, but there's a bunch when they first start, like that line's great, but there's a few others. Not like I find them questionable, but for the first time ever watching this movie where I'm like, yo, a white dude wrote all this? But like Craig Robinson sells it, you know?
Yes.
But
I mean, again,
he calls his boss a Gandhi motherfucker.
yeah,
They're
yes,
talking about
yes.
Black Friday.
And he
And
he
his
says
whole
back to them,
jokes,
"You ebony and ivory motherfuckers, I tell you."
yeah. And like this is an Amistad. And I'm like, wow.
Right. Like part of me,
So
I don't know.
much racial humor
Yeah.
specifically from like a black character's point of view. And I just the first time I was very aware, like, oh white, not in a bad way, but I'm like, a white dude wrote all this. Okay.
Or did he? Because Craig Robinson could have been improvising on some of the lines too. Because I know Kevin Smith didn't write one significant line that came out of Chris Rock's mouth in
Oh yeah.
Dogma.
Yes. Which I can't quote it.
Neither can I.
But yeah.
No matter how much I, yeah, no.
Oh yeah, and that's one of the other ones. And again, it's how much do we have the freedom to speak blatantly
Yeah.
versus how much do you go and I'm not saying that I'm going but like I can't help but wonder when Craig Robinson's referring to being Oprah rich more than once, and then later when he gets his money, his production company is the N-word rich, and I'm like, I wonder, part of me wonders, did you want to call it Oprah Rich Productions? But Oprah is like, no. Like, you can say my name, but you can't put it as the production company head of a porno movie. So they're like, shit, what else can we use? But it was super weird to have Seth Rogen say it. I'm like, oh,
yeah.
Because I feel like, not like offended. I'm just saying in 2024, I don't know if Seth Rogen says that in a movie now.
No,
I just think things year by year and decade by decade, little things shift. as far as what we're okay with and also what is comfortable and what's cool and not. And I went, wow, Seth Rogen just said it.
Yeah.
Neat.
And for the record, 160 large is not Oprah rich.
I know.
I heard that number and I was like, oh my God, I've had that much money. Oh my God. And look at me now. Like, but it was sweet that he thought it was a lot. Anyway, yes.
Yeah. I thought that too. And back when this came out in 2007, that was not even on my radar. Boy, howdy.
No,
oh my
me
God.
neither.
Yeah, that's fucking nothing.
No.
Not nothing. I could use.
We all could use 160 large. I would not say no to it, but I wouldn't go bragging that I'm Oprah rich.
Correct. And the other little like benchmark, and I think, it's funny because, so this was 2007 and Clerks 2 was what, 2006?
Sure.
I think, or 2004. I don't know. Either way, I mentioned in the Clerks 2 episode how like it was one of the last gasps of when we would casually drop the gay F-bomb in comedies. It's one of the last like hiccups, the last breathing, like, oh, we still said it. And even in Clerks 2, it's coming out of the mouth of a guy who's being kind of homophobic, so at least in context. Same thing in this. Like, I thought we were like, I don't know when I'm gonna keep getting surprised, but I'm like, oh, I thought we were done with this. But those when the two kids are shooting granny panties, Seth Rogen shows his butt, and the guy's like, "You're a," and drops the F-bomb. I'm like, okay, at least I buy shitty fucking teenage kids in 2007.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, and I always have to say, I'm not complaining. But in 2024, it's always like, oh God, I heard that word. Oh shit.
Yeah.
Geez.
I've been listening to a lot of podcasts lately, and one thing that keeps coming up is like this discussion, whether it's theater or film, whatever it is, of one thing that I think happens a lot these days, unfortunately, and I'm not like, pro censorship, but I'm saying this is not, I acknowledge this as well, that nuance is getting a little lost every now and then, and things that portray particular aspects of that, things that could be aspects of life that are less savory, are oftentimes, if somebody wants to cancel them or something, they'll cite it as an endorsement when really it's just a depiction.
Correct.
Yeah. So I'm with you as far as like the 13-year-old kids using the schmaggot word. When in doubt, just put a schma in front of it.
That makes it okay.
People still know what you're saying, but but it's not the word. You're sending a clear signal. I don't like saying it either, but
right. And and again, if there's a Mateo Lane routine that I really like where he drops it a bunch of times.
Oh,
within the context of the story, it's great, and he can drop it. But maybe, I don't know. I still don't want to add it. I'll just call it the F word. But thank you.
Okay. Yeah. No, I hear that too. No. But I use F-bomb more often too. Yeah. And if there's any confusion, the other F-bomb, because I feel like it's quite easily perceivable when you think about the context of everything else that I'm saying. But I do every now and then like to drop a schma in front of something I don't like saying. I won't do it with the other word that we wouldn't say, that Craig Robinson named his company. Yeah, I won't do that. Because even then it's still like, oh, that's kind of sketchy. Like schmaggot, I feel like I can say because it's like, well, I'm not saying it, and technically I am. So if somebody's offended by it, then it's like, well, then what's your problem?
Before you specified Craig Robinson, when you had just said the other word, I was like, schmunt? Like but I'm like, I'm fine saying that one.
No, I'm fine saying that one too. Actually,
that's one of my favorite parts of the movie is when they're coming up with titles and he goes, "Kagunt, what's that?"
Yeah,
cocoon with a gunt.
Also, I mean, I like saying that one with an English accent because they know how to do it.
Oh yeah, they fucking do. Oh man.
I think my favorite title that did end up getting if you watch to the end. Oh, I was okay. Sorry, I'm all over the place, but I was so upset when the end credits rolled, and I was just kind of like, they're still rolling, because I streamed this off of Tubi, And I knew I was watching the R version and not the unrated version or whatever. And the credits were rolling and the credits were rolling. And I was like, oh shit, is the little like infomercial like not, is it only on the unrated version, the DVD that I used to own? Because I want to see that. That's like, how can we, and the credits are rolling and the credits are rolling. And I'm like,
It goes on for a while.
yeah. And then I was like, okay, well, you know what? I'm just gonna go to the bathroom. So I got up and I went to the bathroom all distraught. And then I hear, hey, and I went, and I held it.
Pissed all over yourself.
No, I held it. And I ran back and I was just kind of like, oh, this is what I wanted to think. Okay. So I just kind of stood there and I thought, this is ridiculous. And I paused it. I'm too old to hold it. So I went to the restroom. I came back. I reran it a little bit and I watched it and I was so happy. But original point, was so happy to see that they ended up making Star Wars The Phantom Man ass.
Yeah. And Revenge of the Shit.
Revenge of the Shit.
Anal final chapter. Yeah.
Do I need to see that one? I didn't even need to see Sith really, but
Revenge of the Brown Eye.
Sith is fine. Sith is fine. Shit, less so. I'd rather watch Revenge of the Sith than Revenge of the Shit.
I want to see Return of the Brown Eye.
Return of the Brown Eye, sure. There's a lot of attractive guys in that cast. Why not? Maybe it's not one of the guys. I don't know. Well, I mean, Bubbles was having her way with little Blondie Bear. What's his name?
Barry.
Oh, hey, I called him Blondie Bear and his Barry, so he's Blondie Barry now. But
because I love that shot where you think he's the one giving it to her. He's like, yeah, you take it. And then we pull out. He's like, you take it, Barry. Yes. Take it, Barry.
And she's like, take it, Barry. Can I say Tracy Lords happened to me in a big way in this movie. And again, limited screen time. I always liked her. I always followed her. I love her in Crybaby.
Yeah,
I did not love her on Melrose Place. I think that was my first exposure to her, where I knew who she was. And then I saw Crybaby and I was like, oh wait, well, I like her better in this.
I was a straight boy in the 90s, so I was exposed to her in a very different way.
Of course.
And then also Crybaby and her, her more, mainstream career.
Can I ask you a question then? If you were exposed to her in a very different way, because this is a question, something that John Waters cited about when men of a particular, generation, like who were acquainted with her the way you were acquainted with her. If you were to meet her in person, do you think you would have been intimidated?
Then or now? What do you mean?
Then.
Yeah.
Okay, because he would say men meet her and shrink, like they are afraid of her because she's almost like this outlaw.
Well, I mean, in a way, she is. Well, I don't know what he means by that because she, if I remember my loose history correctly, she started in porn at a young age.
Yes.
And I think she's one of the reasons why it became an 18 and up industry. So I feel like if you're a piece of shit who's like, I want to see girls under 18 fuck, and she's an outlaw who took that from me or something, then I don't agree with you. But I can see people seeing a woman having that much power. To shake up an industry.
Yeah.
And then being maybe but I'm just answering you because I'm talking about me being 12 or 13 and there is, beautiful porn star lady in front of me. I would just be like, you're a crybaby and I've seen your boobs and I'm a giant child who doesn't understand anything.
Yeah. And I'd be
fucking stoked now. Are you kidding me? Like she's fucking dope.
Right. And with me, it would have been.
She was in Blade. Come on.
I forgot about that. Yeah. I'm gonna watch that movie again. I haven't seen it in a long
And
time.
I love Blade too. But one of the sad little things I remember reading when you just read nerd news, even on those days of the internet, like in 2003, 2004, Dark Horizons and the earliest version of Coming Soon and Ain't It Cool News and all that shit. It was I don't know, formally announced like in a press thing, but they were talking about how the plan was to have Tracy Lords being Blade 2. And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. And they're like, but she's going to play her character's twin sister. And I'm like, that sounds 9 times out of 10, that sucks. But when you see Blade 2 and you see the blood pack, and I'm like, oh my God, no, Tracy Lords could totally be in the blood pack, and the reason she's in the blood pack hunting Blade is vengeance for her dead sister. Like, this is one of the few times Tracy Lord should have played her twin.
Yeah, right.
Fuck.
Coulda, shoulda, woulda.
Yeah.
But no, I think to get back to like you like being intimidated as a like a
boy.
preteen. I would have been the same for different reasons. I think I would have been like Dolly Parton agog seeing like the town tramp for the first time, you know, when she's just kind of like stars in her eyes, like look how pretty she is, and then her mother just says, oh, she's just trash, like that.
No, but
I think I would have been like,
she has a demeanor and like a confidence to her that's also very as a man I find very not inviting, but like I like it.
Yes,
I respect it.
Very
it makes
much
me
so.
like her as a person, but that confidence as a boy would be very intimidating.
Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, because that confidence is on full display, particularly as she makes her entrance into this movie. But the thing that I love, again, like heart, that I get from her is just like the way I remember just loving the way she listened to Miri when she talked about like the scene and everything like that, and her wisdom, you know, like she got to see through all of this bullshit that these two idiots are telling themselves they're going through, and just kind of be like, okay, well, excuse me, time to get, you know. And I'm just like, yeah, you're great. I'd love it. She's one of those people I just like at a party, she and I backs to the wall, just kind of, you know, chatting with each other and just regarding the people and just talking about what we think is going on. That would be great. Me and Tracy Lords at a party. I want that now.
I want that for you.
Thank you. Let's cross fingers that it happens. Anyway,
one of the things that we got to start on this was the pegging scene, and
yes,
I don't know if you're aware of this, but and I think that this might have been a byproduct of when Kevin's like, I don't know if this is really ready to go yet. Is that originally that scene was just supposed to be, I think, Barry going down on her.
Oh, okay.
And then I don't know if it was like, I don't think it was simply a day of. It might have been, but yes, he still had to ask and get everyone's, you know, but he kind of like pulled her aside and was like, hey, I want to talk to you about the scene. She's like, uh-oh. And he's like, how would you feel about it being a sex scene instead? How would you feel about you fucking Barry instead? Like, and it, you know, that, but basically when they started rolling on day one, that's not what the scene was going to be. But I love that Kevin was like, I think I have a better version for this. Let me talk to the cast and see if they're down, you know.
100%. Although I do
and it
have
fits for her, again, her demeanor in this movie.
Yes. And it's
and
nothing.
Her casual,
it's just,
nonchalant. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm at work. If I show emotion, then I lose my power on screen. So I'm just gonna, I don't even give a shit.
And I feel like you had a thought, Scott.
Only other thing, note that I had for Barry. I'm not acquainted with the gentleman, so I don't know his prior experience of that, but I just thought like his grimace, I was like, I would have asked for a little more. Because he's a little and I'm like, no, that's not what it is. It's more like a you know, if it's really made a difference.
Actually, Eddie, I don't know, so thank you for
if it's made a difference, if it's left an impression, which it looks like she did, you'd probably be a little pretty exhilarated, but also a little, I'm much wider there now. So I would have appreciated that specificity, but I can't depend on, you know, Kevin Smith to give that direction necessarily.
There's something I just find very cute about, I mean, Grant, he's an adult, but I'm just like, he has these soft little cheeks, like she's a woman and he looks like such a young man.
Yeah.
And I just
a cherub. Yeah.
I like the unevenness of the scales. It just
and whenever they're standing next to each other, like just kind of listening to everything else that's going on, like I love they have such a like comfort with each other that when they finally play the couple in the infomercial, I'm just kind of like, oh, of course, because you two are really relaxed around each other. You're used to like being a couple on screen. It was, I don't know, there was again a sweetness to it that I really gravitated toward, and I wish I could have had more of. So.
The other adult film star, you know, in the room, is Katie Morgan, which like was another like this is gonna sound weird, but I'm also owning it.
Okay.
No, like when she was cast in the movie, I'm like, oh fuck yeah, this is dope. Like I'm admitting like, oh, an adult film actress is like an exciting thing for me to be in this movie. But like, I don't know, like I was familiar with her work.
Okay.
But no, but specifically not just with her work, but she was already like a personality. One of the people who like um honestly kind of like Tracy Lords or even like Sasha Grey, who kind of broke out and went like serious actress. Like
Yeah.
in but she hosted more than one show on HBO,
Oh,
and
wow.
they were all like I think one was like Sex 101 or but they were like educational comedy shows
Mm-hmm.
about different sex topics, and she was the host, and the gimmick of her being the host was that she was butt fucking naked hosting, but like the text of her hosting was all kind of silly and funny. And if you
Oh.
had never watched any of her like, you know, adult film work and you just knew her from HBO, aside from being butt naked, you'd say, this girl's funny.
Yeah.
Like she's got a really good energy. She's
Mm-hmm.
silly
Mm-hmm.
and she's good at playing like fake, cute, awkward. And she should host a million of these shows. And she did. She hosted like 3 different versions of
Oh,
these
that's so
shows.
cool. I didn't know
So,
about that.
oh no, she has such a natural fucking comedic energy to her.
Yes, she does.
And it's also she, and I'm gonna say it, a charm, a
Yeah.
legitimately sweet charm to her. That there's
Mm-hmm.
a reason why she broke out of porn and got to start hosting HBO material. And there's a
Yeah.
reason that like after this movie, Kevin's like, hey, you should keep doing this on my Smodcast thing. And would do like, I think she even did live shows at Smodcastle. Like she is a natural for this sort of thing. So like I
Yeah.
got stoked for her to get a mainstream comedy role. And the fact that you're doing this
Oh.
movie, like it makes sense, right? Like if you're doing a sci-fi movie, you'd probably try to cast someone from Star Wars in it as a gag. I don't know, like Mark Hamill or something.
Sure.
So if you're making a movie with porno in the title,
Mm-hmm.
not only should you be reaching into that pool a bit, but I think Kevin Smith is really fortunate that he got Tracy Lords and Katie Morgan, one of the
Yeah.
best to ever break out into it, and now like the best two at that moment in time break out
Mm-hmm.
into it. And
Yeah.
she's fucking hilarious. Pardon,
That's a,
no pun intended. But
yeah.
when she's just like, first of all, it's not even there's not even any lines when she's just getting drilled by fucking Jay Muse.
Mm-hmm.
It's just funny.
I don't know where to look when that guy and I know I'm supposed to know his name and I can't remember it, but the guy walks in,
Oh yeah,
the,
yeah.
the drunk guy.
Tyler Labine, or is it I presume it's Tyler Labine.
Sure,
Yeah.
him. When he walks in, he's
Oh,
whatever.
we'll get
It's
to him.
perfect.
Well,
It's
yeah.
perfect. But the reaction shot, because Jay Muse is
They're still
perfect.
like mid coitus.
He's just like, and then she's just like, and I keep looking at both, and I need to go back and watch it again just to like watch Jay's face in the reaction shots, then rewind it, and then just watch Katie's in the reaction shots, and then even watch Barry in the background because I
Mhm.
did catch a moment of him just being really just awkward and not knowing, do I lift the boom out of, like it was just it was such a perfect moment. And I love that I didn't know where to focus in the
Oh.
best way because everything was just so fucking funny. And I
And
agree with you.
and also just when he's standing there and he just looks over at them, catches his eyes, like, oh hey.
Yeah. Like hey, there's just nothing out of the ordinary about what's
Oh
happening,
fuck.
which, you know what, honestly, I could see that happening if I were, to a particular point in my drinking that
Okay.
night and I walked into a place and I saw some people fucking and I just be kind of like, dude, can I just get some coffee? Just, thanks, man,
I mean,
good work. Just
Tyler Labine, who Kevin had previously directed in the pilot for Reaper,
right.
and he's one of the 2 leads of, well, 3 leads, but the 2 male leads of Reaper. Um, so I love that. I love it when those little relationships form. I love that
Yeah.
Kevin and Justin are on Die Hard, and that leads to this, and then this leads to an
Hmm.
ongoing relationship in filmmaking.
Yes. Yeah.
But I love that Reaper led to this as well. I love him in Reaper, but and I think I'm going to be saying a few, like I've already said, that "let's fuck on these beans" is one of the best line deliveries I've
Yes.
ever heard.
Yes.
Tyler Labine plays one of the best drunks I've ever seen.
Really good.
It is
Yeah.
it's dialed up enough to be funny, but it's rooted in a very true drunkenness that we've all witnessed, if not
Hmm.
have been.
It's
It's
that.
the just the right amount of slurring, just the
Yeah.
right level of eye stuff.
Yeah, just the fluttering of the eyes, I think,
Oh
is
my
the one that
god.
and the kind of wavering, but not like, "Ah,"
Yeah.
it's just like a slight off
Yeah.
balance kind of thing, but you got it together.
This
He
is the
knows
game
that it's all
tonight.
about control. That
And
it's
I was
about the
like,
maintaining of control. Yeah, keep
fuck
it
it,
together.
chuck it,
Yes.
fucking football.
Yes. And then I love that I had forgotten that after he left, Jay starts crying out the
Yeah.
things that he said when they resume filming. Or
Fucking football.
yeah, right.
But yeah, I swear to God, this is what came out 2007. Yeah, so something.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's been many years, and sometimes just in my life, I'll
Yeah.
be doing nothing. I will be at work, and I'll just think, "Huck it, chuck it, fucking football." It's that good of a delivery, and I have been that drunk before.
As have
I remember
I.
being kind of nauseous, and in that exact tone, I just look
Oh.
at my friend who decided to keep me company because I had to leave a
Hmm.
party. And it was at the same tone. I'm just kind of standing there, wavering, and I
Hmm.
go, "I really want to throw up on your shoes." My eyelids have flooded. I really want to. And that's what he's like. I gotta go. I'm like,
Yeah,
yep.
yeah. I don't have any presence of mind about memories of things that I said, but I do remember just kind of like what it looked like, people looking back at me with just kind of like this, "You okay?"
Mm-hmm.
Or no, you're not leaving tonight, hon. You're gonna
And you have
stay
that little
here. And I'm like,
wobble.
okay.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm very
I'm
happy.
sorry. There's nothing wrong. It's like, okay.
Now I am happy that that story I just told you was from a while ago.
Oh, yeah. No, I can't drink like that anymore.
Mhm.
I don't think I'd be
And
here.
I don't want to either.
No, there comes a certain point. Thank God. I hope it stays this way. And I think it will because older, but age, that thing. Um, there comes a certain point where like that getting drunk to the point of being like drunk. Where am I blacked out or am I just browning out, whatever. Like, you reach a point at a certain age, I hope, where you just kind of go, you know what, don't I don't want to be sick. I don't want to have a hangover. I don't want to feel bad the day after. I don't want to associate a bad feeling with
Hmm.
this. I'll have a cocktail, a beer, or two if I'm having a hefty meal, something like that, and then I'll just woohoo. Just a little. Anyway, it's
Yeah.
my PSA. It's my PSA.
I'll give you my little
Another thing.
PSI real quick. Is when
Yes, go for
people,
it.
I'm glad the thing I told myself was when people, and I offer them like a drink of this, they go, "Oh, I can't do tequila or I can't do rum," because I got so fucked up on it this one time that like my brain remembers it and I can't ever. I'm like, I don't ever want to have a sense memory of a kind of booze enough to never be able to drink it because I had such a bad time on it. Fuck
I
that.
I already have that. But the thing
Yeah, I
is,
don't want that.
it's not like, oh, I had the worst time on it. It's I've tried that enough times to know it's not my thing. Cheap vodka is one. I always get sick of, or have always gotten sick on cheap vodka. And the other one is I maybe it's just cheap gin, but I don't know. I've tried all kinds of gin and it always gives me a headache. I
Oh,
always feel like right here, like there's just a vice on my head. So I just stay away from gin pretty much, unless it's like, minuscule amount. Lots of mixers, lots of mixers. But tequila, no problem. Hey,
hey.
party. Um, also, potentially like I don't even know if it's problematic or anything like that, but I did watch it and wonder, would you make a joke about that today? I don't know. It was when again before the reunion when Miri's asking Zach if he likes her dress. Oh, she says, "Is this sexy?" And he says, "Yeah, in a kind of to catch a predator way, it is fucking sexy." And then later on, when when he and Brandon St. Randy are watching her hit on Bobby
Yeah.
Long across the thing, and he's just kind of like, "Hey, Hannah Montana over there," and he's just kind of like, "We call it Nickelodeon chic in LA." And I'm like I watched the documentary,
Yeah.
so I heard that in a completely different way now. I was
Yeah.
like,
Again,
mm,
not the most offensive thing in the world, but
no,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it could not be written today, and hearing it now just makes me go, oh. One thing that I did laugh at though, and I laughed out loud, and I was kind of ashamed of myself, but every now and then the word schmittarded still makes me laugh. And
Uh-huh.
when they're talking about Paris Hilton, and he says, in
Oh,
fact, I think she's legally schmittarded. It's just kind of like, and then it goes on about like her selling like fragrances to tweens and everything like that. And you see
mhm.
Elizabeth Banks like, was it supposed to be for tweens?
Again, when you say like maybe too many quips, and I'm like, no, but I love all the quips in
I like
this
that. No, it's
because
not
the
about,
line, the
yeah.
funny thing is, and then she sells, for tweens. That's already funny.
Yeah.
What makes it extra? Tweens, all that kind of shit.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of that in this.
Oh my God. I love Delaney with his titty auditions.
Oh,
I
just him
I
rambling on and on to that one girl.
I forgot
It's
that it
just
went on that long. I just
yeah.
remember that she took the dress off. I remembered exactly what she looked like naked though, which is weird.
Good for you,
she,
Eddie.
she took the dress off and I was like, yeah, that's exactly how I remember it. Why do I remember that? And not like Craig Robinson's genius bit where he's just running off at the mouth about
Eddie,
being
you discovered something that all of us straight guys know. That's the magic of boobs.
that I want that dress.
Oh, okay.
She took it off. It's mine. No, I'm just kidding. Um, I already mentioned that Tracy Lords is everything.
Mhm. And I already mentioned that Katie Morgan is everything.
Yes.
I mean,
And
she
yet she really
literally,
is. She really is.
when they're having a little party and she's talking to fucking Miri, but like she's kind of excited just to like give Zach a try. Like I swear to God, she has an actual twinkle in her eye.
Yeah, super sweet. I like her. That's the thing. I
Yeah.
watch that moment and I'm just like, oh, she's not doing anything wrong. This isn't one of those cases where I'm just kind of like, that whore. She
No.
better get away from Zach. Doesn't she know that that's It's like, no, Miri should. I am totally like, again, back against the wall at the party, just watching the shit getting stirred and going like, oh, Miri, she's asking you flat out.
Mm-hmm.
This is not the time for your cool girl syndrome, and it's not just
Right.
exclusively for girls. There's cool guy syndrome too. I know.
And
I'm
she's
like,
even acknowledging that like it looked like there was kind of a thing there. So
exactly.
I'm gonna do the right thing and ask because I thought that'd be cool, but I saw something yesterday. Is it cool?
But Miri has this thing, this guard up and everything. And also, again, the test, the fucking everything about
Mm,
their argument, because I understand exactly where Miri's coming from, even though I'm like, come on, grow up, come on.
right.
But at the same time, I'm watching Zach and I'm just kind of like, because I remember I never once thought that he hooked up with Katie Morgan. What's her character's name?
I don't fucking know.
Okay, her character. He didn't hook up with Katie Morgan. I never once thought that he did. I always thought like,
No.
so when he finally says like, what if I never hooked up with her? And she's just kind of like, but you did, right? And he's just kind of like, and he just
You know what?
leaves.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so she's like, or whatever she does. Like, but but I'm just, it's so funny because I'm like, that's another character. I'm wondering like, would Miri be written the same way today either? Because I've been coming down pretty hard on Carrie Bradshaw on my socials
You
lately,
have.
and
I mean, you're
I
not
mean
wrong,
it.
but Carrie Bradshaw fucking sucks.
This is the thing.
For the
Okay,
lead
just
character of the show, god
tiny
damn
tangent,
choices.
tiny tangent. The thing
Yes.
that's getting me about her, and I'm not even watching the show again or anything like that. It's just like in retrospect, I'm just kind of like, Samantha Jones is the coolest friend ever. Charlotte is the kind of person who's going to keep you honest and keep you a decent person. And Miranda is just kind of everything. So you've got these three incredible people who are incredible friends and all show up in incredible ways, not just for Carrie, but for each other. Who the fuck does Carrie show up for?
Herself. She always brings it up for whatever her bullshit is at the time.
And they cancel shit in the fucking movie. They all canceled their shit and
Uh-huh.
went to fucking Mexico with her so she wouldn't be alone on her honeymoon. And I'm just like, girl, I don't get the Carrie Bradshaw draw from them. As an audience member, I'd need to rewatch the show. Anyway, so I'm wondering if Miri is kind of like got this Carrie Bradshaw thing and the fact that like, but I need to have a problem. So I'm going to create one. And it's not like that person doesn't exist. And I don't just say woman, I say person, because I've been that person. But and I've known that person, I've dated that person, and I've also observed that person and gone like, bitch, I used to live there. I bought a house there and started a band. It's no place for you. But I also know you probably need to learn this on your own. So you know what? When you're ready to talk, I'm here. Okay, so this got deeply personal. But Miri with number one, with that strike against her with the Katie Morgan thing and the test and everything, and then she's having the fight with Zack and full on looks him in the eye after he offers everything up, just puts himself out on Front Street, literally says he's going to put himself out on Front Street, and delivers, ready to meet her halfway. And it's like a talk to the hand moment of like, what we did was just fucking. And it's like, okay, why are you doing this?
Okay, but part of me,
why are you doing this?
Do you have an answer for that? Because I think
no,
I have part
please
of an
answer, please.
Because one of the things that kills me about that scene is that he is going to meet you on Front Street, and I'm going to tell you, like, I love you. And it's not, he says it almost angrily, and he follows it up with, like, he either says, is that what you want to hear? Or like, are you happy? I'm like, not anymore. Not with that fucking attitude. Like, is that what you need to hear? Fuck, like, this is not romantic or going anywhere nice, sir. So I can see almost like as a retort.
Oh
like, oh, you think this is what, like, first of all, she's like, I do fucking love you, but like, but when you when you wield it like a weapon, fuck you and your attitude. The thing that you thought we made love to, right now, I'm gonna hurt you with it and say, no, we just fucked. How dare you like think that like, oh, this is what I need to hear, even though it's what I want to hear. But like, he does go back and watch that scene.
Okay.
It's not some Hugh Grant moment.
No, it's not. But see, that's the thing. That's why
they're both young and stupid and angry.
That's true. 100%. They both have like the emotional maturity of caterpillars, but
and I want to say, at least in this sort of cinematic terms, but like, that's the power of their denial of like, no, I've known you since I was a child, and we're buds. We're supposed to just be buds, and it's complicated. Not just when people have sex, but like, it's complicated for us to really acknowledge that we have these feelings for each other.
Yeah.
So the fact that we even are feeling them at all, and then he kind of, not as a total fuck you, but it is kind of, you know, it's not quite. Do you remember in Reality Bites?
Yeah.
When Ethan Hawke goes to Winona Ryder after she's been on the date, and he's like, I am so completely in love with you. And then he starts to laugh. Is that what you want to hear? Asshole. It's not as villainous as that.
No, it is not.
But it's a few steps on its way there, because it isn't some outpouring. It is angry. It is factual. It is argumentative. So I see why she'd go there.
Okay. Can I say two things?
Yeah.
Number one, I retract or rescind whatever my original kind of like, I don't know, pitch about like it being about like two gay guys, because honestly, I don't think you can tell the story convincingly, at least not to me, of two gay guys who have been friends since they were in kindergarten together, who were always in love and never knew it. That shit don't fly when you're gay. Sorry. But maybe if they're closeted, but that's it.
Okay.
Like guys know whether they're going to do it or not, and they usually get it out of the way pretty soon.
So I've heard.
If we can, if we can. If we can. That
sounds like one of the neater things about being gay, from what I understand. Yeah.
I mean, there's plenty that sucks afterwards, but that at least Front Street, hey. hey, we're down. Let's do it. Okay. Hey. But the other thing, it's just kind of telling me the way you're describing Seth's delivery as Zack. You're making me kind of realize how damaged I might be, because I think it's fucking hot. If I had a guy standing across from me telling me angrily that he loved me, I'd just be like, oh shit.
You know what? And
We're gonna fuck.
There's a version of that.
Let me put it this way: if Seth Rogen were standing across from me in that scene, and everything that they said led up to that moment, and he would have delivered those lines exactly the way he delivered them to her, I would have been like, and I just unzip his pants. Like, I don't just be like, and I don't. Okay, hold on. Another tangent.
But that's gay thing, and not what this scene is.
Maybe.
Yes.
But I'll go on the tangent later with this thing. But I see your point. I guess I think that's one other thing that I think I'd like maybe just a sliver more, because it just seems like she's getting in her own way. And this is the thing. Don't get me wrong. I like the fact that, especially that Seth plays it the way it is. I like the way it's written, because this is the thing about Zack is kind of like the directions they might have gone in the John Hughes era. They could have made a lot of mistakes with that character and made him a lot less sympathetic than he is. I actually kind of like the fact that there's more dimension to him than I think would have been granted to the usual to the usual rom-com 1980s leading
80s
man
style. Yeah, because I was about to say, even for 2007, like that's one thing that I want to say hasn't aged well, but like there isn't, by today's standards, there isn't that much to him.
I mean, but
if you're going off 80s stuff, yeah, there is, but there's not that there isn't much to him. But I remember watching it this time when he's getting to the fucking reunion, just like, by the way, I do eat the pussy, and then like, I'm like, I don't remember this guy being such a fucking outwardly that's not. But there's a point to it later. But also, yeah. So he changes and he grows, and there's more to him than that. Blah blah blah. But where it starts, yes, he has more of an arc than you ever would have in the 80s, where he would have got to have been, holy shit, I just watched the Hollywood Nights. Have you ever seen the Hollywood Nights?
No, and I've wanted to, because I know Michelle Pfeiffer's in it, but
yeah, if I'm not mistaken, it's her first film ever.
Yes.
And anytime she's on screen, the movie becomes a million times better. And then she goes away and it fucking sucks. But it is one of the best examples I've ever seen of, like, it's the 80s. This movie was 1980. Men just being shitty. And then they're the romantic lead, and they're peeping Tom and taking photos of girls topless at the pool. And then that same girl later is like, isn't he funny? And I'm like, no, he's a fucking pervert who took photos of you topless. You should be kicking him in the balls and calling the police. But, these men are like Revenge of the Nerd style, running around and like harassing women and grabbing them. And it's all for laughs. And these are like the guys that get the girl in the end and shit. So like, yes, the Zack in this, even as grungy as he is in the beginning, is not an 80s hero who just is basically an outward misogynist, and it's somehow charming,
Well, I mean, I think the hook for me with Zack, that I think ultimately let all of the sexual harassment that he came in to the reunion with, it just went out the door for me, was when he was so emphatically pro Justin Long's character, like everything about Brandon St. Randy, like he was just like, and his friend who's like super nice, and I was just like, he was so pro whatever they did that I was just kind of like, oh, like maybe almost to a pandery, but I don't care. I'll take it. I mean, I don't doubt that Seth Rogen would be that supportive of anything that anybody did. Like, I don't know if any actor could deliver it and I'd be kind of like, I'll take it, but I'll take it from Seth Rogen. Anyway, we'll talk about that. Oh, but that was another like tangent thing.
Is this a tangent that you were going to come back to?
Yeah, the technical thing. It's a technical thing. And for two reasons. He like shaves his beard. And he comes on screen.
Yeah.
And she has this moment like, your face. I haven't seen your face since whenever and everything. And I'm looking at her, I'm just kind of like, maybe he should have cut his hair too. Because I think Seth Rogen's handsome. I didn't think he looked particularly handsome at that particular scene, because he still had like, the little Orphan Annie thing going on. And I'm just kind of like, come on, let's get a little. Maybe they were afraid of it veering away too much and not being Zack.
Yeah, at least his impetus or his excuse is that I wanted to, for our performance.
No,
You don't
and
cut your hair for the performance.
no, but this is the thing. He also cited the reason that he did it was because he didn't want to give her road rash and everything
Yeah.
like that. And I'm like, okay, your beard would be fine. It would be
Right.
heavenly.
It's like 5 o'clock shadow.
When now that you've shaved close, you have a million tiny daggers.
That's true. So if they
And
film
your
the scene the next day,
face,
yeah.
I know, but also your face, and even the next day, like still, like it's gonna be like it needs a few days to kind of like move from bristle to, furry, friendly, just a little exfoliated as opposed to grind cheese grater, because
Yeah,
that's what it feels like.
You're bringing too
I've
much
been on
reality to this, Eddie.
No, but it bothered me. I was just kind
Yeah,
of
I
like,
could
because
tell.
also I thought they're doing a porn. We don't know where else his face is going to go on her body. Like that's just rude. Just kind of, I don't know what this is that I'm doing, but whatever part of her it is.
Yeah, that's maybe off the pod, Eddie. I'll explain to you how straight sex works. Because that almost, if that was Miri, I'd go, that's like harmonica style, right? But like, no, not corn on the cob. Now, there's often a stereotype, oh, don't use teeth. But in that case, Eddie, don't use teeth. There you go. And that's the David from that's the David from Alien Covenant.
What?
When he's playing the flute.
Oh, when he's playing the recorder.
One of my favorite lines ever. You blow, I'll do the fingering.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite lines too.
Oh fuck, you blow and I'll do the fingering. Holy shit.
See, that's hot. But yeah. Oh, but okay.
Okay, so the road rash, you didn't like it.
So the road rash, I didn't like it, but it leads me to something that I think is kind of like the centerpiece of the film. Aside from all the wonderful comedy and all the heart and everything like that, cinematically, as far as like crafting a moment, staging it, directing the actors, and capturing everything, the execution of them finally consummating with each other for me is the centerpiece of the movie. And if that didn't work,
yeah,
I'd have a lot less favoritism toward like this or favorable things to say about this movie, because this is the thing. Even just like soundtrack, like the way the music
they play
fluctuates,
live,
like there's the music that they play, and then, but then the music that they hear when they're, because it's got heat to it. It's got like a sexual urgency, but it's also got this like, because I don't know, because of the way they're like entwined with each other, and because of just like the way a camera captures really, really good actors who know not to push something, not to sell something, but just to let a moment happen to them, how to inhabit, like the circumstances and everything. It played out so beautifully. I got that, no notes. Everything worked out exactly the way it needed to for that sequence. Even the humor on the outside of it when everybody's just sitting there watching them, and especially later the payoff when we see the footage, it's just him on top of her and their heads just going like this, and there's nothing hot about it at all because the camera's not where it should be, where we got to be,
right,
which is all about who you're with and what it means, in addition to all of the other bells and whistles that are going off. And right from that to the end where Elizabeth Banks just kind of collapses.
I have my own note about that.
Yeah.
I mean, you keep going, but we'll come back.
No, I've said it. Go on. What's up?
No, that to me is, you're right, because it is the focal point of the movie, and it's also the whole third act of the movie doesn't work if we don't buy it.
Yeah.
And but here's what really really got me this time. That moment's always worked for me. Yeah. When he checks if you're okay, and I'm gonna go do the thing, and yeah, and then he leaves, and she falls back onto the beans. And this time watching it for the first time, I rolled a tear because of the way she like feels it all, and this fucking grin, the kind of grin that you can't fight, and when everything you're feeling, and her eyes sparkle with everything she's feeling inside. And I literally watched that moment. I'm like, you as an actor are conveying with no dialogue what it looks like and feels like to fall in love.
Yeah.
And it instantly made me think of moments in my life
Yeah.
where I have felt just like that. And I'm like,
Mm.
and I'm not being like overwhelmed, but I got so overjoyed with my history and everything that she's bringing out of me in her performance and
Yeah.
how truthful that performance is, that I just sort of like out of joy, I just like rolled a tear and I'm like, this is masterful work from Elizabeth Banks.
Yes, 100%.
And then I got overwhelmed with this bigger feeling of like, not overwhelmed, but like I didn't roll more tears, but like, okay, here's the thing. So some people especially in humor and comedy, will talk about how acting's easy, how you can show up to a set and they spend all day setting up lights. There's a David Cross bit about this, and how Julie Roberts will sit in her trailer, and then once the lights are ready, someone comes with an umbrella and a little thing for her to walk on, and they bring her to set, and they go, and action. I am so mad at you. Cut. And then you go back to your trailer. And he's like, fucking acting's easy. And I've heard lots of other comedians talk about acting's easy, blah, blah, blah. I get it, but there are other times where I go, fuck no, because sometimes you have to play the truth of something. But
Yeah.
it's hard to play the truth of something when there's
Mhm.
fucking 30 other people in your sight line
Yeah.
and there's a camera right in front of your fucking face and people
Yeah.
are being paid. We're spending thousands of dollars today for you to not fuck up right
Yeah.
now
Yeah.
and find the truth in the middle of all this. And I
Mhm.
think about her finding that moment on those beans. And you know what else I think about? I think about the people who had to lay down the support system for the camera to be over her. And then I think about
Yeah.
the camera operator who has to do his job perfectly. I think about the focus puller who's got to
Mhm.
nail that.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
think about the fact that they play fucking Blondie at its the perfect song choice for
Yeah.
Dreamin'. And I think about the music supervisor, the fucking clearance team, everything that has to be working right now to make this singular moment work and make me roll a tear. Like that's fucking the magic of making movies. And it's
Yeah, it
not
is.
easy to get
No.
a moment right.
No.
That movie gets the moment right. And it takes a lot to make that work. And it's not just her.
Mhm.
And she's great. And she made me cry, but it's not just her, it's everybody.
100%. Like, no, that's the thing. Nobody's job is easy. But I mean, all you'd have to do is ask everyone on that set, okay, trade jobs. Get a
Mm-hmm.
member of the crew to do what Elizabeth Banks did and get her to set up, to pull the fucking focus and
Yeah.
do it correctly so we don't have to keep shooting this over
Oh,
and
and
over and
you
over
you go
again.
pretend like you're in love.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
just go,
And exactly. And get the PA to put the lighting up and get that. And there are a lot of people who wear lots of hats and who are capable of doing different things and everything.
sure.
But I'm sure this is the thing. The person who wears the most hats on any set is never going to be the one to tell you whose job is easy. They're going to know it's hard at every step of the way. It's just
Yeah.
about what's hard.
It's
Like what does it demand of you? So yeah,
it's
I
just
think
funny.
that's
I think about that too sometimes.
yeah.
In my job, sometimes I will look and think, what would happen today if everyone in that department just didn't show up today? What would happen today if everyone in that department didn't show up today? Could we all still do our jobs? And I think about stuff
Yeah.
like that a lot. And I think about that with movies too sometimes. There's a really great documentary. I know you don't like the actual Revenge of the Sith, but when each movie came out on DVD, they each came with like a feature length. Well, actually, the second movie just had three like 30-minute documentaries, but episode one, episode three had feature length documentaries.
Yes, yes.
Episode one chronicled the whole production. Episode three did a really interesting thing. They just focused on like 30 seconds from the fight between Anakin and Obi-Wan at the end. And they just go, all right, now we're going to focus on like, how do you make this moment work? How does it happen? So the documentary only focuses on what was the writing like for that scene. What was it like for them as actors to like choreograph and learn it,
Hmm.
rehearse it? What was it like for the costume department to make the costumes that are being used in that scene and what they're treated in? What was it like for the production design team to design the sets? What was it like for the set builders? And they talk about lighting, they talk about the visual effects, the lava that's fighting behind them. They go and they go to the scoring session, they go to the sound mix. And the whole point of
Yeah.
the documentary is how much work and how many people are involved to make 30 fucking seconds that you're watching this one shot,
Yeah.
work. And it's great. It's a great idea. I like the documentary has a point. It's telling a bigger story, but it's not just about Star Wars. Sometimes you can just look at like Elizabeth Banks on a sack of beans, and I still think like, what has to go to make this magical thing? It's just as magical as Obi-Wan and Anakin fighting against lava,
Sure.
you know?
I'd also say, like, you know what? I think as a crew member, it makes a difference when you have someone who's turning in a performance that you're just kind of like, this is good. And
Mm-hmm.
when you're setting everything up and putting all the effort forth for someone who you're like, well, I guess that's as good as it's going to get today, you know?
Yeah,
And I've seen both.
my brain always presumes that people are cynical and just want to go home and are over it when they work in the business because it's still a job. But of the few times that I've been fortunate enough to be on a set, I'm always, and I'm saying always, pleasantly surprised how much when the performance that's happening is working, when I see the crew like just go like, yeah, like we fucking did it. Like we all like everyone's just like a cheerleader for what's happening. I'm like, people still like they still like to do the thing. They want to do good
Yeah.
work. They want to capture good work. People
Mhm.
still come to set and aren't over it. They want to make a good thing.
Yeah.
And I know Kevin Smith has talked about that recently. He's producing. I'm really bad. I forget the guy's name. He's a rapper and he's starring in and directing his first feature film. Kevin Smith's producing it, and he's also the editor for it. And he was on set for all the filming. And he was talking about how his work ethic, and you see this work ethic like in Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, and you see it when he directs Supergirl and the Flash show. It's like, let's shoot this as simply as we can so we can like I always want to get the crew to go home early. I always presume everyone wants to go home. So if
Right.
this 10-hour day can be an 8 or 9 hour day, that's my goal, is for everyone to just kind of leave happy.
Yeah.
Uh, and the guy that he was working with was like, I have this idea for a shot. It goes down like the hallway and it does that. And they're saying like, well, it'll be like a lot of work. And he's like, yeah, but I think it'll look cool and it'll work. And Kevin realized when he was watching the crew, he's like, once we got the shot, we're all looking at the monitors, everyone on the crew was excited that they did the thing that looks cool. They're all
Yeah.
proud of the time they spent. And he
Right.
talked about how he's like, I learned something. Like going forward, I can spend more time to make the movie better and not just get the crew out early. If the crew wants to make the movie better,
Yeah.
that's what they're here for. And I just like that he had that lesson recently,
Yeah.
because it's true. Like maybe it takes more work, but it also is worth it. That's why you're there, right? To
There's
make the thing.
access to a sense of artistry and a sense of integrity about your work at every level. There's an opportunity there that a lot of people, I think, will grab for.
They will, especially if they believe in the director, they believe in the story. I mean, a job's a
Oh,
job,
100%.
but sometimes you really do care. And I can
Yeah.
guarantee you, when Zach checks and sees that she's okay, and he walks to the frame, if they just stayed on her standing, yeah, you would have got the crew a little bit earlier.
Hmm.
But the fact that we start above her and we have the camera move, and
Hmm.
it's so much better. And I'm glad they all made that moment happen.
Yeah, me too. It's one of the most memorable things. I think I was putting together collages in my Instagram when I first got the account, and I was just kind of like, oh, I'll make little collages of like my favorite moments, like, from movies and stuff like that. And for Zack and Miri, when I did a post back years and years and years ago, I think I had like a little, like three different photos to kind of like get the essence of the movie across. And I knew that I wanted, if I could find it, and I did find it, Elizabeth Banks on her back on the beans just at that moment. And I even saw it when I was watching the shot happen. I was like, that's the angle of her face that I had, because her head kind of goes to the side while she's, laying there. And I was just kind of like, oh, it was right there. Okay, that's where I paused. I think I paused it, and I think I took a photo of the screen
Nice.
actually to put it together, just because I knew you want the moment that it feels like when it's on screen, and that was it. And I'm just like, oh, there it is. I haven't seen that in a minute. That's fun.
It's
But
honestly probably my favorite part of the whole movie. And it's
same.
and
I
and and if you put it in black and white 100 years ago, like every audience person would go like, "Oh, that lady's in love with
mhm,
a little piano
yeah.
playing." Like we understand.
Yeah. And
You
also
know,
that's what it looks like when you have a dick in you. Not, but
maybe one day I'll find out, but not today. I wouldn't know. It'd probably look more like Barry for me.
no, but I mean, it's all about, patience and trust and a
Yeah.
little lube.
I mean, never mind. I'm like, I won't go down that path. But
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
yeah. Also, like I was very excited because I mean, the chronicling of this also was one of those things on the View Askew and the News Askew boards. I mean, it was very very publicly, at least in a social kind of way, not like the trades were writing about it, but like Zack and Miri, he wrote for Seth Rogen in mind for the lead, and he wrote it with Rosario Dawson in mind for the lead, and it was very much like a post Clerks 2. Me and Rosario, like I'm riding the Rosario high, and like I got another movie, and originally it was Seth Rogen, Rosario Dawson. Like the long story short is that he was doing press for Knocked Up and Superbad and international press, and he's like, look, like I think we're supposed to film like in December or November, and he's like, I just need a few months off. Can we shoot?
I think I remember this. Yeah.
So they moved the shoot to January. Rosario was booked on another movie in January. And I remember someone asked it in the boards, like, is it weird that Elizabeth Banks is like your second choice for the part? And I love Kevin Smith's response. And again, I remember the stupidest shit, like a Q&A from a fucking message board in 2006. But he was like, well, she's not my second choice. He's like, because I wrote it for Rosario. And then when Rosario couldn't do it, now I had to make a choice. I had to find someone. So I don't consider my second. She's my first choice because I was in a position to now choose someone.
Right.
And I'm like, that's a fucking beautiful way of explaining it.
I like that. That's the way you want your director / screenwriter to talk about you.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
And,
that's lovely.
And I know that it was one of those things where like, and I love that Seth did this too, which was now that we are looking for people, and they called the agents and they're like, who's available from now to now in the city, get us the list of everyone. And they had like a list of some names, and Seth was like, saw Elizabeth Banks. He goes, oh, Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Like we did 40-Year-Old Virgin.
Yes.
She almost was the lead and Knocked Up. Like we gotta fuck. And I mean, I think you and I are both maybe from different avenues, but like, I think you knew her primarily, at least a long time prior, from Wet Hot American Summer. I was a bigger fan from Slither. But like, we both go pretty far back with Elizabeth Banks, who had for many years in comedy been doing great work.
Oh yeah, and also and had chops in Seabiscuit. I remember.
Oh yeah, and I was like, Spider-Man. Like,
yes,
she was
fun.
She was so on my radar well before like Zack and Miri, but it was really nice to see her get to be in a Kevin Smith joint and to bring, that she has this cackle that I like. It shouldn't be as charming as it is, but when he's burning his balls off.
Oh yeah,
and he gets back in the car and she just processes for a second and just goes like, ha, 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 ha. Like,
yes,
I love her large.
I literally cackle. That's my second note after closed over. I say ajar. I wrote the way Miri laughs at. I think it burned my ball hair off. That tells me, oh, okay,
yeah. But also, like,
you're that girl.
Well, and you should laugh too because it was yours.
Yeah,
and he took it.
Yeah. So fuck that fucker.
Exactly.
Got what? Yeah.
But he. I mean, have you ever been in like a weird? Sometimes even with your balls, like. He plays like, oh, it's between. It's what do we take? Well, she's like, what? It's between my asshole. Like it's you have to like. It is smushed. It's between my ball sack and my taint and my like. It's just a bunch of words all jammed together. But I know the fear and I know the pain. Like.
I don't know how much shit I've had jammed between.
Not even necessarily with my dick and balls, but do you ever just like, you've got like, I don't know, like an owie, and then
when you're like, when you're like,
I can't put this down. I have to fucking split. Oh, fucking check.
Well, I get it all the time where I'm just kind of like, I drive for a living, so like I have to get up and down out of a van like over and over and over again, and every now and then like things kind of realign themselves, and I'm just kind of like, oh, and I'll just be like. Walking down the sidewalk and just need to kind of like drop my leg a little bit just to make room so something can just kind of be free. Yeah. I get that. Yeah.
Hey, you've seen the there's a lot of memes about like the footsteps and then like one is really far over and then the footsteps continue and it's like guys know what this is,
Yeah.
on a warm summer day.
He laughed knowingly. Yeah.
I feel like some credit. I need to. I mean, I've kissed Elizabeth Banks' ass a lot, but Seth Rogen.
Yeah.
Let's go back to like that angry scene, because like there is I know, I've seen it, I've been it, when even if it's not romance, but like when you feel like you've got the information and you think you're fucking right and you're telling the information, and it's interesting that like what he's saying is coming from his heart, but it's still like, we were supposed to fuck over there and instead we ended up making love, and that's because it's like, and I think his character is supposed to be in his 20s. I think Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, high school reunion. But I'm like, yeah, that is a very
right?
What?
Aren't they 27?
Yeah, 27 or 28. Yeah.
Yeah, they're 27.
Oh, I think I said 27. Yeah. But either way, I mean, again, I see why she's upset, because if this is not the way, unfortunately, and that's what makes it a tragedy and gives it some and something to overcome. But like, this is not the way two people are supposed to admit that they are in love with each other. It's not supposed to be a fight, and it's not supposed to be defensive. But the fact that he's saying we ended up making love and we're supposed to, that's because whether you want to fucking admit it or not, we're like, yeah, he plays that really well. And I don't necessarily, I'm not totally in support of the character in that moment, but I am totally support of Seth Rogen for playing the truth of it.
Okay.
He's doing a great job. And one of the things I really like about this movie is one of the reasons why I'm so okay with him being like, I do eat the pussy. It's kind of like in Mallrats, where Brody needs to figure, what do you fucking want, dude? And go for it, because she's about to slip away.
Yeah.
We start with a guy who, it's at first, it took me a little bit to realize it's not just being crass for crass's sake. It is sort of a thing where they talk about going to the high school reunion, how he doesn't give a fuck, but he's going because she wants to go, which is also a sign that you're in love with her. But he's going, but he doesn't respect it. He doesn't want to go. And in fact, when they are going to go, he's blatantly acknowledging how their lives suck and they haven't grown. And when she's asking for a pep talk, he refuses to give it to her. To show me that this is what this guy is, this is where his life is. And to see him find a want, to actually commit his energy to it. So much so that enough steps have happened that when he's thanking the crew for their day doing Star Wars and be sure to put your costumes away and blah, blah, blah. I'm right there with Miri. I'm like, look at you. Look at, you found your fucking purpose. I don't want to cry, but this is like the episode in The Bear. Like, look at you. Look, I love this. So like when she's like, hey, look at you. I forget what she exactly says. But like,
it looks good on you. Yeah, it looks good on you.
No, but before that, she calls him like confident or something, whatever.
Something like that, yeah.
And he's like, fuck you. She's like, no, it looks good on you. I'm like, yeah, fuck, it does.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to just kind of thumb your nose at life, because life's gonna giving you a raw deal. So instead, let's just talk about pussy and disregard everything and think everything's stupid in a kind of Randall way. It does look good on you. Like, and that's the journey. And I love that for him.
Yeah, I also love when he thanks her and she's just kind of like, hey, whatever. And he's just like, no, thank you. Like, with meaning. Like, this is a huge thing, and I couldn't do this with anybody else. So thank you. It's like, oh, so good. But okay.
Hey, you know what? Are you staying in that moment? Keep going then.
No, because I was going to go back to, because you keep bringing it up, and now I have more to say.
What about the angry?
About him confronting her, because this is the thing. I didn't get it as just kind of like a. Well, I got it from.
Angry's too simple of a word, but I mean, it isn't tender. It isn't sweet.
No, it isn't tender and sweet, because I feel like what he's doing is and exactly. I feel like what he's doing is confronting her bullshitting and the game playing and the thing. And I maybe I identify too much with him at that particular moment, because I know what it is to be on the other side of that shit, where you're just kind of like, listen, could you just be an adult and talk to me? Because we're supposed to care about each other. We made an agreement. He said all the stuff that he says. I'm just kind of like, amen. Testify. Okay. And it, again, I'm not on his side, but I do recognize the fact that, like, he is putting everything out on Front Street and risking everything. She is putting up a wall. And that's probably what frustrates me about the argument, is that, like, again, I get where both of them are coming, but the thing is, with where he's coming from, I'm a little bit more I feel it. It's not just about, like, knowing something in your mind. Whereas with her, I'm watching where she's coming from and I can identify it. It's not something that I feel in my gut where I'm just kind of like, oh yeah, I remember that too. I remember. And maybe it's just that thing that Kevin Smith, like, again, maybe if he had more time to just hone in on it and just kind of really answer the question, not just for himself or for her, but for us. Why? What is she afraid of? And maybe somebody got it in a way that I didn't. Maybe it just went whoop, like maybe somebody watches that exchange and just goes like, I've done that and I know exactly what it is she's running from. Me, I'm just kind of like, is it just being afraid of feeling? Is it just like,
It could be. It could be fear.
It feels a little generic though. I would, or generalized maybe. So
Okay.
whereas where he's coming from, it's very specific.
I'm glad you said that though, because you are right in that it is confrontational and he is putting himself out there. I think maybe I just read into so much that, like, it's just sad that, like, I feel like saying I love you should not be that hard to
right. It's not ideal, but
it's not ideal. And
it was
that
a
just
now
makes
or
me,
never.
that just makes
it
me
was,
sad.
I know.
And I didn't used to feel that way. Only now at 43, watching that scene, was I like, God damn, dude. But you're right. Like, sometimes, if you play with different kid gloves, it's not the scene anymore. So, like, so you're right. Thank you for saying that. I still stand by. I'm not totally with him, but, like, I get where he's coming from.
Yeah.
I mean, especially, if you think about the scene before, which is so fucking well done.
Yeah.
You want to talk about when, like, Elizabeth Banks is being a great, like, silent film actress, when you could tell just by his reactions what Katie Morgan's saying, and the way he, like, looks at her like, wait, you fucking said what? And her fucking, like, yeah, whatever, just, but it's like a game, like, it's all that shit. And again, you can't write two, like, 40-year-old characters doing this because we don't fucking play games like that.
I
but
hope
people
not.
are
Jesus
stupid
Christ.
in their 20s and plays too. I mean, thankfully, I didn't endure much, but the way and I remember feeling electric. I don't want to be too technical. Like, no one wants to think about a movie too much and feel like you're watching a movie. You're supposed to hopefully go on the ride and not just be like, the cinematography. If the cinematography is nice, great, but, like, just fucking watch the movie too. But it's been interesting watching his career, go from Clerks and Chasing Amy, where, like, we're gonna lock it, it's proscenium, blah blah blah. Felt like we start to move the camera a little bit, and then Dogma, we've got some CGI. And Clerks 2, we have a fucking musical number on a crane. So with this, when Katie Morgan's, like, takes him by the hand and gets up, and they start playing the Pixies, Hey, maybe in my top 3 uses of the Pixies in a movie, and a great song for the beat. And the fact that they've like, ramped up the shutter speed. I'm like, wait, is Kevin Smith doing a fucking slow-mo? Oh my God. And not like sporty slow-mo, but just like, Scorsese slow-mo, when we just take it to, like, like, I don't know, just 5 or 60 frames instead of,
it picks up the temperature of the moment a little bit.
Yeah. And so, first of all, on a technique level, I just been like, fucking bravo, Kevin Smith and Bozier and David Klein and this whole team, to make this moment that's emotional yet conveyed on a technical level and executed perfectly. Fucking bravo. But it also doesn't work unless Seth Rogen isn't playing the fact that, wait, I thought we were falling in love and now this is happening.
Right.
He's playing hurt, but he's also playing, like, angry, like an angry hurt. And that like, I have seen that fucking face on straight dudes. I think I've made that fucking face. Like, it is just as truthful as anything Elizabeth Banks does laying on those beans.
Well, because also Elizabeth Banks in that sequence, like that that was another shot I wanted to bring up. Is just like that slow kind of glide the POV from Zach and from Katie as they're making their way across the room and like down the hall and everything, and just as the camera's just kind of like drifting and getting more and more distant from her, and I feel myself again shaking my head just going like, Miri, what did you do? And not to put it all on her, but just to be like, you were the first domino here. Like, he is just kind of like, really, he is reacting to something that was already put into action by you and Katie Morgan.
You're right.
So now you know it's happening. You're literally witnessing it, and oh god, that's the thing that gets me, because I remember being in that in a similar, not exactly the same, but similar situation where it's just kind of like I've still got my feelings I've caught. I haven't lost them yet, and I'm watching you hook up with somebody across the room, and I thought you cared, but do you? And if you did, would you be doing this? Should I even be here? Why am I here? Should I leave? You know, like all
that
the
whole
all that bullshit. And yeah, and I think that's another thing that got me just kind of like, but there's, yeah, you're right. Something about the execution of it. It just, I'm not sitting there going like, what an exquisitely, I mean, I am because I'm taking notes for a fucking pod, but every time I've watched the movie, it's just happened to me. I've just been kind of like, oh, you know, it's searing. It just cuts because it feels like authentic wounds, you know? And it even in memory, you can look at it from memory and just kind of go like, oh shit, I remember getting in my own way that much. See, that's where it works. I'm just kind of like, because it's something about the expression on her face too that just kind of, fuck.
Like it was almost like, I mean, I don't want to sound like a stereotypical young fucking guy, but oh, girls, I don't like when girls play games. But like, and even Seth Rogen, like the next day, is like, look, I don't have time for these fucking games. Like, because she is playing one. The problem is though, is it's also a game she's playing with herself. I feel like, where like, oh no, I'm not in love with him. See, go. It's not just like, will he fail that test? Bitch, you failed your own test.
Yeah.
Which is that I this won't bother me. Yes, it fucking will.
God,
you could almost call, I mean, I love the way it ends up and everything, but you know, an alternate title for this movie could be like young people making mistakes, you know.
I'm getting so stressed out. Just we need to talk about something.
Yeah, but I want to there's another delivery in this.
Yes.
That I'll never forget. One of the one of the test screenings I went to. Because I swear to God, like every test screening I've been to, not test screening, sorry, critic screening. It's just quiet room. Like it isn't people who spent $10 and got in their car on a Friday night to see their favorite comedian. It's a job.
Yeah.
And it's always nice when people do laugh. I remember hearing laughter for press screenings for Clerks 2, and I'm like, this is fucking awesome. But anyway, and I look forward to it every time I lean in when the water goes out. And she's like, here, just get the cup, get it from the toilet. And he lifts up the lid and he just goes, there's poo in there. My friend busted up so hard. But that delivery, I wait for it. Like if there are people in the room, I go, there's poo in there. And that look on his face.
That is so you.
It really, but come on, it's the second best. No, it's not the second best line delivery, but it's great. But let me say though, I mean, this has been said to death. The shorthand is that Kevin Smith saw Seth Rogen, 40-year-old virgin, and thought he was so good, I want to write him a lead part. And little did he know, in that time, Knocked Up and Superbad would be coming out, and he's not the first guy to realize that. But there's on some podcast where he talks specifically about, because that's like the shorthand in every like documentary or fucking interview he talked about, like, oh, 40-year-old virgin. But he talks specifically about the "do you know how I know you're gay" scene, which is so great. But he's
the
like,
line-orama for that is exquisite.
Oh, it's superb.
Yeah.
But he talks specifically about, he's like, there's this part towards the end of the scene where he says, when they're playing Mortal Kombat, he goes, now I'm ripping off your head. It's off, and now I'm throwing it at your body. Fuck you. And Kevin's like, I thought that, like, that fuck you, like, that delivery is so great. That's what cemented Kevin Smith and was like, I need to write this part for him. That passion for that, like, I've never written a script for Seth Rogen, but that passion behind that is how I feel about let's fuck on these beans. It's like every time. It's just so good. I love it. It's not even, there's no joke.
Oh my God.
There's no punchline. Let's fuck on these beans. And I swear to God, it's like one of the funniest things I've ever heard.
There's a moment like that for me. It's a little more extensive than, a simple like line reading or even a simple exchange. It comes down to end of the movie. He's stormed the castle, he's come into the apartment looking for Miri because he found out, she never shot the scene. She's in love with you, man. He goes and finds his way to the apartment, and he's knocking and he's talking to her, and she's there on the can like, huh. And then out walks Jamie Hughes and delivers. I don't even know if it necessarily is a speech, because Zach does chime in 3 words here, 2 words there, a little bit. But I feel qualified calling it a speech. Something about the train of thought that Jason Mewes' character. Do you know his name? I can't remember his name.
I do. I will never forget Lester the Molester.
Right. Lester. Thank you. Okay.
Before you go on, can I just say, and I love these kind of asides. This is my favorite sort of just like thing, comedy writing. What's your name? Lester the Molester, Cock and Stuff. Oh my God, that's a great porn name. Wait, we're gonna get a porn name?
Yes.
Then I want to be Pete Jones. Oh fuck, that's good stuff.
Good shit. It's good shit. Okay, so Lester enters fully naked. Zach assumes the worst, so Lester just starts launching into like his speech about like how they didn't fuck and how he even offered a few times and it didn't work. And then he offered for her to give him a Dutch rudder. Like, what's a Dutch rudder? And he starts to explain it. He takes his arm and puts it on his arm. And Zach is so clearly not working his arm. So it's like him
feels good,
miming, like pantomiming what it would look like. And then if we don't, you get a double Dutch rudder.
Double Dutch rudder,
no, I got you. And we're just 2 guys. Just and everything about it. And then it's already hilarious. Like, I remember the first time, I'll never forget the first time I saw it in the theater, and that was going on. I had my sister next to me, and the 2 of us, we were dying. And we were just like, Oscar, like give the man something. And what I love about where it lands, though, is just the fact that like he talks about Miri moved into Zach's room because it smelled like him or some shit. And then he leans forward and tries to smell him, and he doesn't smell anything. He's like, I don't smell anything, but that probably means she loves you. And I'm just like, you nailed it. You are Cupid. You just just there it is. And then and also he makes the point somewhere in there about how the reason he's naked is because he likes to be naked. He likes to and I'm like, and he just exits. Just like following him. And I no notes. Again, just like completely perfect. I mean, I had no notes for Jay like the whole movie. I'm just kind of, I'm a fan. Yeah. But then he gave that, and I'm just kind of like, there you are.
No,
you have been serving this whole movie, but
he has.
Yes,
and he it was a really refreshing thing to see him not play Jay and succeed.
Yeah.
He
was so
to not rely on that. Because do you have any special skills? I can get a boner real quick and it stands straight up. Well, I don't know if that's a special. And he just stands up, and he like his
no hands.
fists.
Yeah.
His little hands, his arms next to his and his little face. He's almost looking up.
Like, oh my God. And
That
then it
delivery.
happens and
Well, I can get a boner real fast and it stands straight up.
yeah. It's just like there's a simplicity to the character, but then finally, like at the end, he gets to have a moment of wisdom as well. Like
Oh
that's one
yeah.
thing I like, finding wisdom in like,
Oh, I love.
the seemingly traditionally like most
Yes.
unlikely of places where you
Yes.
would find wisdom in life from people who have just fucking lived life enough to identify things, and also, not being inside of it, have developed like some kind of perspective, like I see what's going on here and I'm just going to point it out to you. I fucking love that shit. As an audience, I feel gratified to experience that, because I feel like, okay, you're my eyes. You see it, so I'm not crazy. Um, yeah, everything about just like the that entire sequence, I'm just kind of
Oh,
like, yeah, and it feels so, again, so quintessentially Kevin Smith. Like, how many other rom-coms are going to kind of like find their way with allow the lovers, the romantic love interests to find their way to each other because some naked guy walks out. The male lead decides like, I don't even care about that because I will wait for
yeah.
you. It's just the sweetest thing in the world. You're like, you know what? That's right. Yeah, that's the reaction to have because she's worth it,
Because
and
yeah.
because even if she did fuck him, like, was it love? Probably not. And also it doesn't even matter because you feel love, and that's what matters to you. And he's not delivering it angrily now. There's a lot
Right.
of acceptance and a lot of tolerance and a lot of openness, just
And look at where
willingness.
they both were and where he was at the beginning of the movie too, because I mean,
Oh God.
even before they fuck,
Yeah.
they're already like the whole point of the movie is that they're in love with each other the whole time. It just takes this for them to realize it. I mean, they are even in this shitty existence where they can't make rent, they are each other's rock. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
they are a duo in the storm. Like, this is,
I think that was what made me, because you brought up the clerks thing, and I definitely got that when I saw them like working at the coffee place and everything. But I did think like, oh, how would I feel if I saw like, I don't know about Dante and Randall, but I think that's what made me immediately think about two guys, because I'm like, what if this was just like the next chapter in Dante and Randall's?
I mean, yeah,
Like,
because I mean, there's not enough of it, but the impression I get is that Zach and Delaney are kind of like the Dante and Randall of Bean and Gone.
yeah,
We,
yeah,
we we talk a little bit about oh, sorry, I had to take Black Friday off and blah blah blah, but like the
sure,
impression I
sure,
get is that there's a whole other movie that could have been there of just these two guys. I don't know what the story is. I'm just saying that they're the only two we see besides the boss.
yeah, yeah. So. Now I'm wondering, Seth Rogen and Craig Robinson.
Oh, and do they make a porno?
Zach and
Yeah,
Delaney make a porno,
porno.
huh? But no, but I want Tisha Campbell in the movie. And I don't want her getting cheated
Ah,
on.
and I love that she gets like the cameo reveal shot too. Like she's
I love that I do a double take to her breasts, and then to the point where I'm almost kind of like, wait, what?
what?
And then they start
When
playing
Craig
with them
fucking
like, yeah, they
yeah,
start flipping them. And I'm just
flapjacks
kind
one
of
of
like,
them.
okay,
Yeah.
and I'm like, okay, that's props. That's not. And then I don't think I saw it before, but I don't think because even DVDs are just SD, and I don't remember really looking in the movie theater. But I saw it in HD today, so of course, like I noticed, like, oh, I can see the line of Tisha Campbell's like actual
Mm-hmm.
bosom, and where the prosthetics or whatever sandbags, I don't know what it is they put on her, but where they're drifting below her natural carriage. So anyway,
I
yeah,
like your vernacular there. Yeah.
yeah, I'm pretty great.
Yeah. One let's go back to the ending really quick because I have a nitpick. I have a thing.
Ooh, I want to hear.
Again, not enough to derail. It is just a nitpick. And I felt this way in 2007 and I wondered, ooh, am I going to feel differently about this now that I'm older and have experienced more life and the way people talk? No, I still feel the same way, which is the 3 months later card.
Ah,
I think 3 months is just way too long. I don't buy that they would have that fallout and let that much time go by. And like
hmm.
like like especially when he's showed up at her at the apartment, I'm like, 3 months for this scene to happen?
You're right. Maybe a month. Maybe.
1 month is what
Yeah.
makes the most sense to me.
I,
1 month of not talking, of not
yeah.
texting, and also editing that shitty ass porno for 3 months.
That's true.
Yeah.
I didn't. You know what? I didn't think it didn't occur to me when I saw it, but now that you're saying it, it makes absolute sense. Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. I agree.
I just changed the number on the card. It's for what they're feeling and what they've been
Uh-huh.
through, and then what that last scene is. I'm like, 3 months is just way too long.
I have one nitpick, and I don't even know if it's a nitpick, but it's something that occurred to me, and I wonder if it's supposed to be interpreted.
Oh.
When he's seeing the footage and everything, and we get the payoff where we see the footage of just their heads,
Mhm.
and it's not hot at all. When the irony is, we were there, we know how hot it was. But then all of a sudden, while Craig Robinson is like, well, Delaney's talking to him and shit, we cut back to the monitor, and all of a sudden we have the shot we never got.
No, yeah, no, it's the movie. It's
Yeah.
oh yeah.
And he's watching the movie footage. I think there's two cutaways to
Mhm.
it, and then he gets the fuck out of Dodge. But okay. So do you think that is that supposed to be like his memory?
Right. Is it lazy filmmaking because that's what we
Or
shot, or is it supposed
yeah.
to be him visually seeing what he felt in the moment?
Yeah, like he's like his mind's eye is remembering what we
I
saw
am
in the
Eddie.
movie on the monitor, but it
I
seems
am
like a reach.
fascinated by little moments in movies like this where I'm like, I don't know. Is
Yeah.
this movie genius or is this an accident? And in this case, I don't know. Did you guys not like this? We're just going to use what we filmed already. And it's a
Yeah.
movie. It's a who gives a fuck? It's Hollywood, whatever. Or is this a choice because we know how we felt when we watched that, and we need to use that to convey to Zach.
Yeah, I
I
feel like
don't
there's a
honestly that
way to make it work more to answer the
I
question,
don't lean
but
one way. I think it's a 50-50 choice. It could just be production laziness.
okay,
It could be a choice.
okay,
And if it's both, like, or if it's one, the end result is still the other. So, like,
yeah, okay,
yeah, that's a good question.
okay. Thank you. I don't know how much more I have to say. Do you have
A
anything
little
else
bit,
more to say?
barely.
Yes, go
Um,
for it. Go
I
for it.
just one of the things I appreciate. You know what? I'll leave this for the end. I do want to go back to another. I think you touched upon it just barely, but when Zach's like, "What if I didn't fuck her?" And she's like, "Well,
Mm,
you did," and he's about to say it, and he's, "Ah, fuck it," like and
yeah,
pieces out. And I think does she say wait? She's like,
yeah, something like that, or
"Yeah,"
yeah, something like that. Yeah,
like I'm right there with him. Like, what? And the fact that it to me, it's right there with her on the beans. Where I'm like, yes, like that's how you feel. My heart, because you and acting like, fuck, she's so good.
yeah, she is.
She's so good.
Throw your pen again.
Elizabeth Banks is so good.
Yeah,
Fuck.
yeah, absolutely.
Um, I still think I'm just going back to a little thing, but I would still argue that in cinematic terms, even if shaving might leave a little bit of scruff, if we're making a movie, it's the visuals. Like, oh, I've cleaned my face up for the movie, but we also but one of the things that it's just a little thing that my friend, one of my friends who I took to a screening of the movie because I went to like three and really exploited it. But fuck Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah.
Was when she's on the couch at the rap party and she looks over at him and he's like playing cards at the table and he just looks up and he grins at her for a second. My friend audibly swooned in a press screening. And afterwards, I'm like, "Are you into Seth Rogen?" She's like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
And when he fucking smiled at her with that clean she's like, "Oh," and she swooned
Mm,
all over again. And I'm like, "Hey, but that beat works. It's a little thing, but also just I mean, I know Seth Rogen's funny, but like all you're doing is looking at your friend and smiling at her, and it just feels like a sweet little beat, and it feels truthful. And the way you smile at like your girlfriend when you just connect across. If you're not a couple yet, but you're a duo. You just won't fucking admit it yet.
yeah.
And it's just that little thing. It's that like, hey,
I haven't thought about my Seth Rogen crush in a long time, and you're just bringing it back. I'm just remembering, yeah, like.
Do you swoon when he smiles at her across the room too?
Okay, um, I like them too much to kind of just be kind of like, but so I'm not sitting there going like it should be me, but I mean I get it, it's plausible. Like I'm just kind of like yeah, but at the same time like I remember the first time I saw him, he when he did cut his hair, because that's another thing. Like his mop's adorable, but I remember when he first cut it, like cut it, you know. And he came out on stage at the Golden Globes or something to present something, and I was just like, and he had glasses on, but the beautiful chocolate brown eyes, and I was just like, oh my god. And then he did one and I was like, oh, it's still there. So it's like he's hunky, but he's nerdy, and that combination is just, you know, my kryptonite. So anyway, I'm getting derailed. Go on.
Yeah, that's fine. No, I just I think I would wrap up by saying one of the things that I really appreciate, two things I appreciate about this movie. One is that for a comedy that was sold on, it's got the word porno in the title, and you know, we can't show you much because we had to draw it on the poster, and I mean, the battle for the R rating was something we more heard about a little bit later. But anyway, like for a movie that's got porno in the title, and it actually has like some porn stars in it, like there isn't, like there's an extended sequence where they're filming a sex scene. There's a lot of boobs in it, but like it isn't, you know, it doesn't lean into like, look at all the fucking in this movie.
Yeah.
Look at all the girl. Like the thing that I like about it is for something being sold as a raunchy comedy, I like that it's sweet. And even though I already seen it many times, I remember when Tracy and I first started going out, I'm like, oh, you should watch this. And when it was over, she's like, I really like that. I go, oh, really? She's like, I had no idea it was going to be like a love story. I just thought it was going to be a comedy about porn.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was going to be so sweet. And like, I think a lot of people, when they went to go see it, didn't know they were going to be seeing a rom-com.
Yeah.
They thought they were just getting a com. And I like what a dirty, sex positive story it is about two people falling in love, and it's sweet.
It takes me back to Janine Garofalo in her stand-up describing Chasing Amy, saying it's a romantic comedy for people who hate romantic comedies. And I think Zack and Miri,
this is definitely more formula comedy beat.
Yeah. And also I think actually a more formulaic rom as well as
totally.
Like I mean, because
he runs to her at the end, and
and even that's the thing. Like okay, but I mean, I've been watching not a lot, but every, let's say, month or every other month, I've been returning to a rom-com, or even watching one that I never saw like for the first time that everybody's always been talking about, and I'm just kind of like, oh, like, hey, let's unpack this, let's see what it is, and I watch it. And the thing is, I feel like my review on Letterboxd is usually kind of the same thing. Like, if you're down with the formula, this works. This is a good time. If you're irritated by it, you're not going to enjoy it. You know, that's usually what my review is. The formula is in full effect here, so red alert. And that's how I feel about this movie. I think the formula is in full effect, but at the same time, like, I'm not someone who, you know, the latest rom-com is out. I have never been that person. And with age, I've only come to like kind of like realize that rom-coms, I'm just kind of like watching, okay, what's fucked up about this couple? You know, what's going to irritate me, or even not even irritate me, but what red flags are going to show up, and I'm just going to be like, ha ha, even if it's good natured. And with Zack and Miri, it was more just kind of like, okay, we're hitting the, you know, the usual kind of like notes that we need to, like, oh, we would never, you know, do something like that, and we never catch feelings. We have to promise. No, but it's not played that way. But but it's, you know, it's just that, you know, that same thing where I'm just kind of like, you're gonna end up together. Okay, let's watch it. You know, yeah.
But you're touching upon something that we totally skipped over.
What?
Which is like, and it's not like, no, you got to promise, but like this idea that like, no, if two friends really are like, look, we're desperate, we need to make money, but like,
yeah,
this can't fuck up our friendship. Like it's played without the eye roll wink. I mean, we know they're gonna get together, but it's not played like they're gonna get together. But that whole scene, where they're at the the power goes out, their life is shit. They go to the bar. It's this is premise. This is premise 101. When she declares out loud, this is the kind of circumstance people remember before they start having sex for money and making porn, and that you're watching a screen, you're watching a formula. You're watching, this is the beat, this is the thing. But it's how do you execute it and do you make it worth a damn? And they do. But what's great is just everything about that scene unfolds. I've literally I've had a conversation in real life about how about the porn industry, and it's not hypothetically how cool it would be to fuck a bunch of strangers with other people watching you and getting paid, but just the idea of getting paid, and when you're successful at it, when you can make a lot of money doing it. This is true. There is an industry. It's an industry with millions and millions of people that are in it. This many people really find success in it. A lot of other people find a lot of abuse and shit in it. But it's not focused on the shitty, sad times. It's focused on the people who are successful at it. I literally have had a conversation with someone else where it was yeah, you could do that. Yeah, you could do it. What's holding you back? Other people in my life, essentially what they say, fucking dignity, your mom, your friends, it's a socially life altering thing. So I like the fact that I've literally had a conversation with people, and then this movie has, in my opinion, it's played for comedy, but it is a very truthful human response, which is because we don't he literally says we don't have dignity and something else. And they really play off yes, we're poor. It's all funny, but that whole scene in the bar to them walking outside in the street, every point they hit does a really good job of selling you on the premise, because the premise itself of two people taking someone else's money to then spend days and days to film a movie to get a process to put it out there so they can pay their rent. If you want to look at through a realistic eye, it doesn't actually make a whole lot of sense. So you need to sell an audience, because the whole point is these two characters and they need to fuck. Well, how do we get them to fuck in us and make a comedy? Well, we have to bridge it. We need to make the thing. We need to sell the thing to make the rest of the movie happen. And I just want to say that the movie does a good job of selling it. And one of the cool things about selling it is, and there's another anecdote, is that originally that scene was a lot shorter. And on the day of, Smith's we're getting to it too quick. We gotta discuss more. And he and Seth Rogen started talking about Paris Hilton and the normalizing of porn. All that happened on the day, and all that sells you on it. And I think one of the biggest selling points, I'm so glad they included this sequence, is when they're walking down the street and she's like, yeah, but who would want to watch us fuck? And he's like, well, 800 of the people went to school with. She's like, what? He's like, anyone that we went to school with, we found out they fucked. I would watch that video right fucking now. And guess what? I don't know about you, but I feel like we all know someone. I've known a few. And the response is always the same. Oh, really? We got to go watch that right fucking now, right?
Porn party. But
actually,
oh god,
it wasn't. Hey, it wasn't my party. No, but I didn't. There's one people that threw porn. I didn't go.
Oh, you didn't go? Okay,
I didn't. Not to that one.
I believe.
But I also went to another party when someone's like, "Yo, have you heard?" And then they pulled up someone's computer and at the party, here's the thing. So I know some people who have gone into that very willingly and really made a run at it. I know some people who just sort of whatever. The response, whether it's appropriate or not, is still a knee-jerk response to be like, oh, someone I know on the internet doing the thing. You want to go look at it. You want to see what happened, what's what. So, and that's such a natural instinct. And I love the fact that they included that, because that is a gut response. And the fact that Zach and Kevin Smith are lucid enough to be like, 800 fucking people would want to see it. I can't even fucking stand Rosie O'Donnell. But if you told me there's a tape of Rosie O'Donnell getting fucked, I want to go watch that right now. The curiosity, The sheer willing, like
Yes, you thread the needle. Like it makes
every
you.
they movie does an excellent job selling you to get to the premise. So now we can just enjoy it. And it's really funny in how much truth it is about human nature. And I don't think that those scenes really get enough credit for
It's
really being
interesting.
about us.
Yeah, you're making me think about something similar situation. Like the people have to be pushed. There has to be a sense of urgency, so they're not just kind of like, okay, this is an option. No, we need to make this a priority. We need to run to this. And it makes me think about of all things Tootsie. Makes me think
Oh,
about Dustin Hoffman and Sidney Pollack in Sidney Pollack's office. Sidney Pollack's playing his agent, and he's telling for anybody who hasn't seen it. And he's just kind of going like, he's just like, no, you ruined this thing, and you ruined this thing, and you ruined it. He's like, no, but why was I supposed to stand up? I was a big 60s beef steak tomato. Nobody sells vegetables like me. He's like, no one is going to work with you. You mean no one in New York will work with me? No, not just, no one in LA wants to work with you. No one in the business will work with you. It's like, oh yeah. Next shot, dressed as a woman.
yep.
Because we've driven it home how
Yes.
fucked you are as a man. The only option, go the other direction and see if you can make something float. And now we're in. Now this is the reason we all came to see the movie. And you've made us believe that, like, you know, this person is making this decision and is committing to this because of the desperation, the levels of desperation that they've reached.
And
So,
also that scene is in bar and then on street and then back in the apartment.
oh yeah, they keep
Because
having
that conversation
yeah.
wouldn't just last 5 or 10 minutes. So I love, it's kind of an annoying thing in movies when like the one line of the dialogue ends and then the next shot is them in a car. I'm like, you wouldn't be talking about this 20 minutes later. This is silly movie. And in this case, no, you would be talking about this all night. Enough so that like he literally like proposes to her to have sex on camera for money. Like it's funny, and I love that we get there. It's great.
And also in its weird seriosity, or seriousness, it's because it involves a commitment.
It
involves, I mean, it's a business venture, and anytime you do business with friends, you know you're risking something.
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
when you bring
like
money into it, yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Not to mention sex. Then, you know,
Yeah.
and then potential, I don't know about fame, but notoriety, you know, like, I mean, all of these things that need to be considered. And yeah, I agree with you. It does feel like they kind of put it through a prism and just try to look at it from every possible angle of just like, okay, but
It's
what
a
about
smart
this?
approach. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I agree with you. I like that.
It does that thing also too, where I don't know if there's not that much social commentary, but it is. And look at what the housing market is like now. I mean, what it is like as we're losing more and more of the middle class.
Yeah.
You are telling a story about scraping by just to put a roof over your head, like, and setting that in the context that anyone in the audience can relate to, and then listen to his argument, basically putting themselves in Miri's shoes.
Yeah.
And have like, how much would I be swayed to do this if I couldn't pay my fucking rent? Like,
Yeah.
it's good.
I mean, this was pre OnlyFans. So
This was definitely pre OnlyFans, and this I think was this pre the big the bank, like the Big Short. I think it was.
Oh, I don't know.
When we were shorting all that the housing crisis.
Yeah,
I think it was, but either way, it still plays. It played then because first of all, there's always gonna be people struggling.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, well, 2007, we were still like mining through our recession and everything. So yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. Little things we talked about this with other movies, but I love that Kevin Smith likes to work in duos.
Yeah.
Dante Randall and Brody and TS, and to a certain degree, TS and Renee and Brody. No, Brody and Renee and TS and anyway. But anyway, Banky and Holden, it's always these little duos. He breaks it up for Dogwell. He comes back to it for Strike Back. You could almost argue that Ollie and Gertie are the duo, but I like that. I like when he plays with duos. It's just cute. I also think it's a nice payoff that when talking about when Chasing Amy was going to happen, he talked about one of the things that he realized about making Chasing Amy as a rom-com was that he read some review for Mallrats where someone's like, there's a secret to Mallrats that we didn't know about Kevin Smith after Clerks, but when you see Mallrats, Kevin Smith's a softie. Like at the end of the day, he wants to tell a little love story set in a mall. And I think this movie is like the ultimate. Chasing Amy's not the payoff to that review. This is the payoff to that review where it's like, oh, Kevin Smith's a softie. Look,
Yeah,
he sold you on a porn comedy and he gave you a sweet little love story.
I mean, there's elements of things among, like, I mean, in our discussion of like Jersey Girl, like there were so many things that are not kind of like typical of, you know,
Yes.
your usual, like whether you want to call it rom-com or even just like character arc, like, you know, whatever label you want to give it for the protagonist of that piece. Um but yeah, it still ends with a, you know, oh, you know,
Yeah. And
if you
there's
care, if you've been moved by it at all, you're walking away from that movie going,
right.
oh, you
Yeah.
know.
And I mean, and Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back has, you know, Justice and Boo Boo Kitty Fuck. There's other, but like none more so than like this to me feels like the payoff to that critics review. And I'm
Mm,
glad it kind of happened the way it did because the bit of trivia before we wrap this up is that, you know, this idea sort of existed around Chasing Amy time. And it was
mhm.
supposed to be a TV show with Jason Lee as like the Zack. And do you know anything about this? About the
No.
show that he almost did? It was, I think it was called, it's like a like when something's on a break. I think it's called Hiatus.
Oh my God.
And Jason Lee was like a guy who left town, tried to become a porn star, ultimately like fails, comes back to town, and he had there's a girl who was a fluffer, and she fluffed him once, and she's on the skids, so like he brings her back home and they become buds. And over the course of the season, they fall in love. But the whole thing is like, are you guys a couple? It's like, no, 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 we're just friends. She just jerked me off once. It was professional. It wasn't, you know, that was always. But there was a character called Lester that was played by Jay Muse, and it was supposed to be like a full season, and then it never happened, but it evolved into this. And then when the Seth Rogen thing happened, that's when he turned the character into a Seth Rogen-y character, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I
Okay.
say all that to say, like, you know, would it be cool to watch that show with Jason Lee? Of course.
Yes.
But I want Jason Lee to always be in anything Kevin Smith. But I will say, like, I'm very happy that this is the end result we get.
Me too.
I find it very satisfying, and also
Mhm.
because not just because of the end result and how the movie makes me feel. I will say that I love the fact that I was watching this when Zack and Miri are at the Bean and Gone for the first time. They're talking about going to the New Year, the high school reunion, and all that shit. And I was just, this is such a weird thing to compliment. But you have to understand where he came from. He came from a fucking locked shot kind of world, and actors would just talk for 5 minutes straight. And I'm like, all this dialogue, every time that they would cut, I'm like, oh my God, if you made this a decade ago, this would all be one shot.
Yeah.
This would all be him at the counter talking to her, and maybe the thing would be open so that we could see her changing a little bit. And maybe the way he would cut away to like a customer or a cat taking a shit, he'd cut to like, you know, some teenager with his phone out, but we'd cut back to that one static shot. But it's constantly breaking up the action, which is fine. It's a movie. I'm not going to pat him on the back for fucking editing shots. But the fact that it was all one long exchange that was broken,
Yeah.
I'm like, look at you. You made a fucking movie. Like in the more, you know,
Yeah.
so much so that cop out happens because somebody at Warner Brothers saw Zack and Miri and is like, Kevin Smith made a movie that actually looks like a real movie now. Let's talk to him about making movies at Warner Brothers.
Mhm.
Zack and Miri would not have been filmed this way 10 years ago, is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
And it's also funny to me that how much time has changed in ways that date it. I mentioned this to Chogrin in Clerks 2, how like they're so pearl clutchy about going ass to mouth,
Yes.
but like ass to mouth, like, you know, I don't want to say it's been normalized, but within the broader general culture, it has become less taboo than it was in 2004. And you're making a face, but it's true. People are more casual
I
about
I
eating
I I,
ass.
I was on
Eating
another
ass.
free I was on another frequency in
I know
2004.
you
So when she
were.
said you never go ass to mouth, I was like,
Yeah,
maybe you don't.
exactly. I'm talking about this, Eddie. I'm talking about the straights. And when I say broader culture, I just mean like generalized
Straighty McStraighterton.
bitch ass normal cishet bullshit. Yes. The most boring vanilla of yes. Because I know you were ahead of the curve. I'm talking about us, for lack of a better word, the fucking normies, the bullshit ass cishet shit. Anyway,
okay.
But it's true. Like, we don't even say like ass to mouth anymore. Just eating ass. It's just a thing, and it's said and it's done, and who gives a fuck? I feel the same way about it, and it happened so fast. I remember like barely hearing about a fleshlight, maybe less than a year before this movie came out. And I knew people who only heard about a fleshlight for the first time because of this movie. And
that's funny.
Yeah. And it's now like within just a year or two, this movie come like, and even to this day, like fleshlights, you see ads, just say it's nothing. Fleshlights are nothing. They're not even funny anymore, Eddie.
See, everybody should just like come out just to get the stuff. I don't remember why, but for some reason I must have signed up and been on some list or something, because immediately this was back with like snail mail, and I would get like these like offers for like, like here, buy our full-length videos. Here's a sample of like, like a montage, like a 2-minute montage of all of our full-length videos, but there's 10 2-minute montages, so you got like 20 minutes worth of porn. Enjoy it. And it was the first exposure I ever had to gay porn. I was just kind of like, wow, what have I've been missing out? And then even I remember seeing like I think from time to time I still get them, tlavideo.com, and they have DVDs and Blu-rays and stuff like that, and it's predominantly like gay shit. But I remember they'd also have like a bunch of accoutrements, like, and the fleshlight was one of the first things that I was ever exposed to in the way of like sex toys and everything like that you could order out of a catalog and things like that. So I remember seeing it.
Was it a butthole?
Yeah.
Okay.
And there was a mouth one too.
Ooh.
Weird. Yeah, it was just lips.
What's the name of that song?
Next catalog I get, I'll send it to you.
Okay, maybe remember. Anyway,
I remember seeing that and being kind of like, okay. Oh, and I think also Ghost World helped. Like there was one point, I think, doesn't Thora Birch hold up a fleshlight and go, "Who would have sex with this thing?" when they're in the
here, the idea of a pocket pussy had been around for ages, Eddie.
Yeah,
but the thing to make it look like a flashlight in disguise.
Yeah.
I don't remember it. I don't remember it being a flashlight in Ghost World. I think it was just a pocket pussy in Ghost World.
Maybe, yeah, I think you're right there. But no, I remember seeing it advertised in some periodical that was sent to me. That I still, how I got on that list, I don't know, because I wasn't going around going like, send me porn. At least I didn't think I was. No, I didn't. Where would that list be? I don't know. Maybe at a Pride March, or I don't know. But I don't know. Yeah, I ended up somehow they knew I came out, and they're just kind of like, he'll buy our stuff if we send him the catalogs.
Yeah, that's what happens when you come out, right?
I guess.
Yeah.
You're on a list. So sorry, fleshlight.
Anyway, I just think it's funny that like I wouldn't say the fleshlight's been normalized. It's just been so exposed in comedy and like publicly and just so many things that like that if you went back and watched this movie now for the first time, and it's like, what the fuck is a flashlight? What's a flashlight? You fuck it. And then just like, and she at the end of the movie, she's like, you fucked it? He's like, yeah. Like, no, I feel like no one would give like that wouldn't be that funny or taboo now.
Well, it might still be funny, but I don't know. Definitely not taboo. Well, I guess it depends. You don't know who you're showing shit to. Some people are still very kind of like, oh, clutch the pearls. Oh, that's not, the way we do things around here. I don't know why we talk like this, but Professor Firefly. Anyway, go on.
No, that's it. I think I'm done. I just, that's a lot of nice things and some really good, fleshlights and Kevin Smith growing as a filmmaker and Elizabeth Banks taking me to school or taking me to church or whatever. And I don't know what the expression is, but I mean, even Eddie, she sells the line like, I will Dutch rudder you for the rest of our lives. And like, I go, so good.
You do the toodles, that was one thing that was cut out of my rated R cut. He does the lip thing, says I was pretending to cry there, but I think in the unrated one he does that was, or maybe in the deleted scene, it's like that's Toodles from Hook.
Oh, that's okay.
I've lost my marbles.
This is something where either you're wrong or I'm stupid and wrong.
He didn't do it in my cut.
No.
The one on Tubi. Yeah.
I don't. Here's the thing. I don't know of an alternate cut. As far as I
Oh,
know,
I thought there was.
as far as I know, they just put Zack and Miri out on DVD and Blu-ray, and I wonder.
Maybe it's not unrated. Maybe it's just unedited or something or directors.
But you know when they do that thing where here's the unrated edition, blah blah
Yeah,
blah.
Yeah.
It's like, and it's like 30 seconds of some.
Yeah.
I don't recall this having that. I'm pretty sure. All I'm wondering is maybe there's deleted scenes and outtakes, and you're just remembering that.
That might be it.
I am 98% positive that this only had the theatrical release and there was no extended cut.
Okay, perhaps.
The only big deal about this was, aside from the different posters in Canada and the US, was that I remember reading online that this was going to be called Zack and Miri on home video. What a bunch of bullshit. But they're like, there is going to be a limited pressing of it, not limited, like limited edition, but like a pressing of it. And I remember reading online, I didn't know about Barnes and Noble, but I remember someone saying, yo, FYE has it. I was like, oh. And this was back when FYE, first, I mean, the fucking Eddie, do you remember like the journey that like Music Plus got bought by the Warehouse and then the Warehouse got bought by Blockbuster Music and that sort of thing? But I remember, I think it was the Warehouse and like FYE used to be someone else. The stickers used to look like the Warehouse stickers. So this is back when they were not only selling movies, but they were owned by someone else, because then now they've evolved into just like, we sell toys and blankets and pops and fucking, they don't sell movies. They have anyway, back when FYE actually sold movies, because I drove and they only had, there was one in Huntington Beach on Beach Boulevard. It used to be a Warehouse. I remember it used to be Music Plus when I was a kid. And I went in and I had to go drive to the only store I knew that would have it was FYE.
I haven't thought about the Warehouse in so long. I think about like Suncoast and Sam Goody all the time because I worked at Suncoast right next to a Sam Goody, and they're the same, owned by the same, corporation,
parent company.
Parent company. I think about Borders. Barnes and Noble's still around, thank God. So we got that. But I think about Tower. But I hadn't thought about Warehouse. Well, I had one out here by me too, and it's a Bob's Big Boy now. But I'm wondering what other like music outlets have I forgotten?
Music Plus?
I don't think I had a Music Plus near me.
Oh,
I don't
we had one near me.
having one. Okay. But you're just, oh God, taking me back to like back in the B. Dalton days and I mean that's a bookstore, but still the same. Like places where fuckers like me could walk in, say, I'd like a job. Name 5 titles. Here's 5. Here's 5 more. You get the job. I will recommend things for your clientele. And it worked nicely until they went bankrupt.
I could do a whole other podcast about working at Suncoast and what a great time.
I know. Maybe
but it's
one day.
Late. And
yeah.
I want to go away.
Yeah, let's go away. It was a good movie. It was fun.
And Eddie, I will see you next time for Cop Out. Bye, everybody.